Growing up here in Tasmania, mental health just wasn't, as it probably was in most places, spoken about amongst men. Growing up, you hear a lot about suicide. It was quite confronting, and it sort of pushed me to consider, that could be my brother, it could be myself.
Movember Ahead of the Game is a grassroots program delivered in community football clubs with the AFL as our implementation partner, and teaching young people coping skills so that they can deal with challenges both on and off the field. And Men in Mind is equipping more and more healthcare professionals to provide best practice gender responsive care for men who are seeking support. We're building strength at the community level, and we're building strength within workforces. So suicide is the leading cause of death for young men aged 15 to 44 in Australia. 50% of those men have been to the healthcare system to seek support in the 12 months prior to their taking their own life. And that tells us that we have a long ways to go in improving the healthcare systems. What we love about the combination of Ahead of the Game and Men in Mind is people can then go to their healthcare professionals in the community that they live, and Ahead of the Game comes in and provides mental health literacy at the grassroots level to leverage that environment to improve health and wellbeing.
We're at the cusp of, I think, seeing a lot more mental health presentations. It's really important that men receive gender-responsive healthcare. We are having those conversations. Again, though, it's about what happens once they engage with those services. How do we support them? How do we make sure they're not slipping through the cracks?
There's a very rich history here at South Longing Football Club, whether it's been in the State League, the NTFL, now the NTFA. At the football club, we want our young people to be more than just players. We want them to be good community citizens. The Ahead of the Game program is certainly valuable in preparing our young people for the future, not just for playing football, but giving that sense of purpose, connection, and greater good for the community.
Part of the suicide prevention strategy within Tasmania is to focus on ways that we can intervene early. Integration is the way to go. If we integrate as a community, as a service, then we get the best outcomes for individuals. Some of the education that's happened through the Men in Mind program allows us to start conversations and think a little bit differently. So this is a really good program to just allow us to stop and think.
There were many specific things in the training that helped me, especially as a developing clinician, to shape my practice a bit further. The most prominent that I consider is masculinity and how it relates to formulation. It's a little shift that's had a big impact on the way that I approach my work.
Ahead of the Game's taught me to check in on your mate. It's not like a broken leg, you can't see how it's going. You got to check in, you got to ask how they're going. If you're not mentally prepared, it's very tough to go out there and perform well.
Movember's Ahead of the Game and Men in Mind have been running for 2 years now in Tasmania, thanks to the generous funding of the Tasmanian government. Given the success of these programs and what communities are telling us, we'd love to see these two programs continue to roll out together right across Australia and the world. What is really important to us is always embedding our services in the community with the people who live and breathe for that community, and we're able to wrap around them and provide some additional supports to enable them to continue to show up really well for each other.
Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's coverage of the 2025 edition of Saturday for the Boys, the charity race benefiting Movember. Tonight, we're at iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway, part of a special cause and a chance for drivers to win some money. $500 in prizes on the line here on Maconi Entertainment. Maconi Entertainment here bringing you action from all types of racing, including this series and many others. No matter what you're racing, we can bring the action to life. Track details are on screen as I'm Justin Prince alongside me, Marty Sakala. We'll have Sky Shrek as our pit reporter as well tonight. Howie Burrows is our producer. The excitement level has to be high tonight. It's the 5th annual running of this event. We've had plenty of different winners over the years, but with Daytona, anything can happen, all while trying to raise money for Movember. So far, more than $1,300 raised alone.
The stakes are high without question, JP, but it's obviously for a more important cause for Movember, all supporting men's health this month. You know, you talk about drafting partners. Well, in Movember, the real partner is the mustache. And yes, we've raised so much money, over $1,300 per our fearless leader, Jeff Maconi. In the last 5 years of this event, we've actually raised altogether $8,000 towards this cause. It's just awesome to see.
More than $8,600 specifically so far raised, including this year's total when it comes to this event. But the drivers themselves are at Daytona International Speedway. To bring in Sky into the conversation here, there's a lot of potential for strategies. There's a lot of potential for carnage here, especially since qualifying's underway and the pressure is on to make it into the field, Sky, so you don't have to have chaos reign in about less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, those drivers are really going to be looking more for chaos in the early stages of this event tonight. Obviously, with the heat race and the LCQ, they're going to be short, quick 20-lap races, so you're not really going to have any pit strategy. It's all just going to be about going as hard as you can and hoping you don't get caught up in any accidents in the short time span. Once we get into the 100-lap feature tonight, that's when you're going to see some more strategy start to play a role in this. Drivers, as always at these play tracks, are going to want to find some buddies out here so that they have cars to pit with and they can all come out in one organized line. That's the fastest way to do it around this track.
And a lot of different drivers have made their way into the field tonight, Marty. That's the big thing, or at least attempted qualifying. Some of them actually took part in racing action last night, where it was Joseph Tucker from Elliott Sauer Esports who ended up getting himself essentially that provisional so long as he makes an appearance tonight. But there's so many others when it comes to regulars from this event in the past, and some new drivers here. You have Keegan Sabelo, who is amongst the field. You have Aiden Howard, who was the driver that was strong last night. A driver with the NASCAR experience, at least on the crew side. Larry Pace is a part of the field. Michael Thorpe Jr. amongst some of the qualifiers, and so many others, all looking for a chance to win. Look at some of these happy drivers as they work on qualifying.
Yeah, we're riding on board. Some of them will check in on them throughout the night. Even have ARCA driver as well. Brayton Laster, the pizza guy, with us. In fact, another one of Maconi's own, Maconi Entertainment's own, Jeremy Briggs, I saw on the entry list on my way in here. So it's good to see him take part in this event. If I have that right, yep, I do. He's actually 10th quick. So, but you see qualifying happening right now at the moment. Now, normally when you're qualifying in a regular race at Daytona, it doesn't really matter because you'll have the draft and you typically start in the back and you're all in the same pack. But here, qualifying's pretty important because the top 25 make their way automatically in the feature while the rest are down to last chance showdown.
5 making for the LCQ, and by the way, that LCQ, 0 caution flags. So quite simply, if you want to avoid the madness that is about to ensue for those who did not make the top 25, you have to have speed. Mind you, there are 55 drivers in this session here tonight looking to try and qualify their way in for this evening's racing festivities. Some of the names still qualifying. You see some of them on track. This is Billy Rickett, for example, one of the drivers that was around the mid-pack to the edges of the top 10 in last night's recruitment race. He looks to try and improve on things. You see many of these drivers tonight will use that apron and wrap the bottom to shortcut the front straightaway, and that qualifying run does get the 7 into the show. It's a top 10 for Billy Rickett. Ryan Kilbashian also jumped to the top 10 with his lap as the rest of the drivers finish up the runs. Only 3 yet to set times, and amongst those that just went to the top was one of those you just seen. That is Vinny Tigner, who just jumped behind Jared Davis for the pylon.
And everyone, for the looks of it, except for 3, have finished qualifying, including Jeff Maconi, but he may not qualify since he's a provisional. You also have Piotr Smetana and Dave Hoytsma waiting to qualify. In fact, Hoytsma, I think I may be looking at this correctly, he is stage and getting set to warm up. Shane Tierney, right now 33rd on the track. David Pachal, 10th. He's already got a lap good, and he's in the top 25. He's guaranteed a spot in the show. Let's watch Tierney closely, though, because lap 1 was utilizing the top 51, actually utilized the bottom at a 51.24. Let's see if he improves here.
Taking a look at Dave Hoytsman as his exit, but Tierney, we can definitely tell you, his lap did not get him in the show. He was 33rd on qualifying. Last 2 drivers on the track, including Dave Hoytsma. Of course, Lucas Hoytsma, when it comes to his experience in the FLCC, one of the drivers that was one of your top competitors in 2025 in that series. Dave is his dad and is looking to try and get himself to the show. You can see right now trying to build up the momentum, Marty. Try and get the speed built up to be able to get ready for that second lap where you have to go. It's so important to get the speed built up just right without scrubbing it.
Yeah, everyone likes to utilize the high side of Daytona for lap 1, not only to get the speed built up, but also to get the engine temperature built up, the RPMs cooking, the horsepower as well at the same time. The moment you hit the tri-oval, that's when you got to whoosh your way down to the low side to get the banking some momentum to begin your second lap, your qualifying lap.
Absolutely. So at this moment, we have 3 minutes left on the clock for drivers to qualify. Right now, your cutoff is Michael Thorpe Jr. That time is a 51.216, 6 thousandths over Brian Chabowski, who is one of the top drivers you can find in these types of events, usually in Fast Fridays and in some league scene races. Well, a lot of big names, we'll just say that, are below the cutoff before we go through the LCQ side. But the first lap, 53rd, Dave Hoytsman, that's expected. With 2/10 off the nearest driver, though. Smetana is also on track, by the way. And I want to ask you this, guy, in terms of this. In terms of your emotions when it comes to a race like this, what are your thoughts on it? Of course, it's for a good cause. To be able to raise money for Movember, $10 was the minimum donation to be able to have a chance to race in tonight's festivities. But you also have so many competitors in the first place that are looking to try and get themselves in.
Well, I think if you're one of the drivers in the field, especially in these heat races early, you've really got to go for it because, like you said, a lot of money on the line tonight in this charity race, so these drivers are going to want to push their way up the field. I really don't think, especially if you're one of the drivers in the LCQ, that you're going to have time to hang back. I mean, we might have, 30 drivers back there as Dave Hoytsma jumps up to 3rd and locks himself into the feature. There's 30 drivers back there, and we only have 5 going through the LCQ. You are going to want to be on it. There is no time for sitting back.
This is interesting as well. One driver remaining to qualify, and it's Piotr Smetana. And I noticed on the super stretch, he was not hugging the yellow line. He was up on the middle groove of the racetrack, now hugs it in turns number 3 and 4. I don't know if it's going to be enough for him to crack top 25 or not, Justin, as he comes across the start-finish line.
He's going to need to be in the 51.1s at least. It's a 51.2. It's actually in. That's on the cutoff. 25th. Smetana got it on the money. Well, that's a way to make the show. Just got in by 2/1000ths of a second. We just received word that Jeff Maconi is going to elect to start last for the race, for the main feature for tonight for the 100-lapper. He is, after all, a multiple-time winner of this event. He'll be race control instead for your LCQ. So all the drivers have qualified tonight, Marty, and a lot of big names that actually were competitors last night, as well, some of them, are going into the LCQ. Brendan Argenio is one of the notables, 36 quickest after being a contender for the race win last night to try and get the promoter's provisional.
Yeah, he's going to start 11th here in this last chance showdown, and you want the track position. in this last chance showdown. You don't want to be starting at the back. This is basically a pickup cup race with the newer truck and the newer version of Daytona basically here. When it gets double file, if it stays double file constantly for 20 laps, it's going to be tough to be making up spots. But it is easily passable here with the trucks here. When you put them on Daytona, this has higher drag, for example, and it's easier to slipstream.
So the drivers are now making their way onto the grid for our LCQ, where we have 29 going to race it out. Your first driver below the cutoff is Casey Sudich. He was also a contender last night until some late race incidents. He'll be first alongside Michael Thorpe Jr. Mike Chabelski will start in third position with Valios in the fourth position. Then it's Jacob Dawson in fifth, with Andrew Williams in sixth. Then it's Travis Noble starting seventh. Mystic Racing League race admin Harold Tucker III starts in eighth. ARCA Menard Series racer Brayton Lester, who's actually going to be part of those, taking part in some of the short track racing, coming up in ninth, the dirt side specifically, with Shane Tierney in 10th position, Marty.
Brendan Argenio, like you mentioned, Justin, was in the recruitment race yesterday. He starts 11th with Gary Flynn on the outside in row number 6. Brock Piper starts from 13th with Trevor Trago next to him in the 037 from 14th. Row number 8, row number 8, Hunter Foley in the number 2 from 15th. Jeff Eddy next to him in 16th. Sam Boutwell starts from 17th next to Shane Fleming in the 90, rolling from 18th. Rounding out your top 20, Terry Henry in the 17th. And Cameron Carden in the 25.
First goes to Wyatt McCombs with Benjamin Elliott 22nd. Mackenzie Corniss, usually a road course racer, making an appearance in 23rd. William Miller 24th. Kevin Carlisle will start down at 25th alongside Brad Hunt in his teal 69 truck in Sim. Austin Mees will start in 27th. Austin Norris in 28th. And rounding out your drivers is Michael Winter. We'll start 29th. Jeff Maconi, as mentioned, race control is actually setting things up for our next session in process. So the drivers get ready. Here's the deal. 20 laps. Top 5 make it to the main show here, Marty. Your keys to survive. After all, no cautions. You better hope you don't crash.
Well, I'll give you some more keys here in the feature, but you basically took the first one from me. Don't crash. If you crash, you're basically done. From racing in the For the Boys feature. Don't crash. When you go in the corners, low side is your best friend. On the straightaways, high side is your best friend. You want to side draft as well at the same time throughout the 20 laps. I wouldn't recommend doing so until maybe 5 or 10 laps to go. And watch out for coming off at turn number 2 on the final laps or late in the final laps. Because when you hit the super stretch, it can be Calamity Alley at times. You just never know what's going to happen at a track like Daytona.
It's going to be a wild night to say the very least here. Again, 25 made it for the main show, 5 move on for the LCQ. Then there is the Promoter's Choice Provisionals that are on the line after that. The field is ready. The green flag is out. It's time for the LCQ for the action at Daytona. Clean start as we make our way down the back straightaway. Sudich leading the inside line with Chabelski all over the bumper. Then it's Hoyos who is on the outside looking to have no cap and find his way to the point in his purple truck. A lot of drivers though sticking to exactly what you said. Stick to the bottom, keep it clean.
Yeah, and you're going to see that as well during the 100-lap feature. A lot of drivers sticking it to the bottom, but obviously that's going to be a race of patience. Throughout this race, there's going to be no patience. When they hit the straightaway, drivers are going to duck to the outside, just like what we saw Vallejos do in the Toyota Tundra. Double wide here, pace laps at speeds of 185 miles an hour, Justin.
Go forward absolutely here. Say at the very least. Right now, we'll see who gets the opportunity to poke ahead here in the early going. But for the most part, we will say we've seen one driver on the apron in 1 and 2. That was Michael Thorpe Jr. actually started over this off from pit road. We have a wreck in the back. Michael Thorpe is amongst them in it. Means is in it. Cornice is in it. Carlisle, McCombs, and many others are stacking up. And with the yellow flag not to come out here, that destroys the chances for everyone outside the top 20.
You saw a big cut by Vallejos down low so we could get that run. Again, all about maintaining the run, not just about holding your foot down onto that throttle pedal. And you see a lot of drivers getting dicey off in turn number 2. No one cutting down to the apron to fall back. It's not surprising, though, at the same time, because you want to be in that top 5 coming to the checkered flag. Oh, we got one wrecking.
Oh, more wrecks at the back of the pack as one driver slams the wall. Austin Norris, Monso's out of it already. That is Hunter Foley. That is the one who does take the hits. Brad Hunt also losing ground as a result. So our pack splinters to 17. Only a couple laps into the action.
You see Casey Sawatch now making the run on the outside moments ago to take the race lead. Here's the thing. If you're leading going down the super stretch, don't even worry about blocking. It's the top 5 that transfer. If you're in the pit spot, you're going to be either blocking, you're going to be side drafting, doing whatever the heck it's going to take to make sure that you're in that 100-lap A-main tonight.
Staying, though, a lot of these drivers pushing to try and make the spots up already with there being so little time. The outside builds up the run again. Vallejos wants to lead it. Working with the truck that's pushing as hard as possible. And have to love some of the paint schemes you see in some of the iRacing events like this. Trying to take a little bit of inspiration from the no-name brand that will absolutely sue you if you have a paint scheme from them.
Tell you what, the trouble in the back. We got one wrecking up in the air for a moment. That was Braden Laster. He is out of the top 5. We stay racing, and the truck times many times. Andrew Williams out front for right now. Vallejos for the run underneath, and look at how split up this pack is. Because of that spin with the 13, drivers were having to dodge a bullet there, basically, Justin. And now it's all about maintaining that draft.
So critical at this point here as lap traffic is already coming up on the high side. That's Austin Norris. Norris, once those who have already taken the faster pair and are hoping for a lot of luck to hit the racetrack here, to say the very least, as he slams the wall for good measure. Funnily enough, I believe he actually matches our pit reporter tonight in terms of team name. Sky Motorsports Machine having some moments there as the lead pack battles it out.
You see Willis there now cutting down in front in turn number 3 thanks to that big push from Harold Tucker III. Now he looks to get some help from Argenio, who has the 5th and final transfer spot. But don't look now. Here comes Brian Zabelski looking for that 5th spot. And you see the block there for just a moment by Tucker. First guy lead the top, stacked it up for just a little bit.
Yep, you see those slow ups continue to build up here. And right now at this point, Sky, what are the thoughts in terms of this from your position here, seeing how some of these drivers are playing things out already with already a conveyor belt building on the high side?
Kind of depends. If you're one of these drivers up front, you hope this stays in position. You don't really want to have to block. You don't want to have to move lanes. You're probably going to have to there we go. A car almost flipped over there as the 85. Now we're wrecking big time.
Oh, this is the main pack. Shabelski amongst those in it. Fleming in it. Cardin going around. Tierney still slamming the walls. And the main pack has splintered to just 8. More chaos as the field has only a couple people in the main group. We're not even at the halfway mark yet. And lots of people here are using their faster pairs, as you would expect with some of the hits.
Justin, keep an eye on 9th through 12th. Brock Piper, Jeffrey Eddy, Jake Dawson, Sam Boutwell. Something I would not be surprised if it got crazy with the front 9 in the final laps of the race. They just have to be patient, hope for a top 5 spot in, hoping for a big wreck to happen amongst this peloton pack, and that they can dodge it.
Keep in mind, race admins are going to be watching how you handle the situation too. You have to think, Scott, because Provisionals, you have a few of them available to be able to lock yourself into the 36 truck field. If you want to get it, you better race clean, but also be competitive enough to gain the attention.
Yeah, depending on how many drivers with provisionals don't end up in, it's going to be anywhere from 5 to 10 advancing out of this race. I was going to say, if you're one of the cars at the back, you wanted to move your way up through the field to avoid exactly what happened there, where they get in the big wreck and then everybody starts to drop back and you kind of get some really strung out cars here. The top 8 in this pack are feeling good, but I would expect the drivers back there in 7th and 8th. That's Gary Flynn, currently last car in this line, trying to work his way up through the field. I would expect him to really make some moves here late. And don't count out those cars behind him. Like you said, Brock Piper, Jeffrey Eddy, if they get tight together, something could happen in there.
Saw those front 8, the front 9 drivers when they were going down the super stretch. They were moving around a lot more than I've seen in the past laps, which is basically scrubbing off speed. Whereas Piper and Eddy, they could just hold their line at the bottom, don't have to deal with any bumping, don't have to try and react to anything. They're doing just fine. They are staying with the top 8, so give them credit for that for right now.
So here is where the math is going on for the provisionals, because I know some of the competitors have been asking, where's that cut line going to be? Well, remember, that cut line is originally 5. Here's the thing, 2 provisionals that were originally going to get them tonight did not appear tonight. As well, another 2 drivers that originally may have had the provisionals did not put up a time in the top 25. So the math is possibly 7. It's going to be really reviewed by race control for the exact cut line, but in other words, if you're Trevor Trago, hold on to your spot. Keep it clean. Don't have any troubles in the Wars of Goons machine, because right now, that is the very rough cut line from race control that we just received past this halfway point. All this as well. It's still 2x2, Marty, and once again, it's the calm before you expect things to get chaotic here with 10 drivers fighting for maybe 7, if not more spots.
Piper and Eddy were able to make their way up to the back of this lead pack, and so, like you mentioned, it's a 10-car battle for, we know, at least 5 spots. It could be up to 7 depending on provisionals. One of the reasons why as well we've got this long wait as well between the B main and the feature, so they can make sure the grid is right and have the proper amount of provisionals here at the same time. Keep an eye on Vallejos. If he gets stuck on the bottom, watch him close to find an opening on the outside. If he finds it, he's going to go up there. He's using it to his advantage, going for the race lead. Final spot in. It's side by side, Tucker and Noble that we know of. The final spot in that we know of right now. And you see the 70 getting that run there off of turn 4.
See everyone just trying to equalize out, and you have to know, though, last night the 56 was one of the most aggressive drivers in terms of trying to make some moves. The Hercules performance machine was willing to push whoever's in front, but had been one of the drivers that, if you left the gap open, was willing to push the envelope to try and win in the recruitment race. Was similar to what we've seen with Joseph Tucker in terms of some of the battles we've seen from him last night. So if there's an opening, wouldn't be surprised if we see the 56 take it. You see, no one's leaving that extra car length gap like they were last night.
Don't be surprised either. When we get to this, when we get to 2 to go or 3 to go, don't be surprised if someone from the back of this lead pack decides to go all the way up top and take it 3 wide. Very easy to go double file. It's possible to go 3 wide, but you just have to have a lot of help. And you're seeing a lot of drivers moving around that top. No side drafting too much just yet here. We'll see it a lot with 1 or 2 laps to go possibly. But Williams hanging on to that lead in that yellow and black taxi mobile. That big push helping out from Casey Sawatch in that 27. Oh, there they go. 15.
Here we go. Paxton flirting again. That is Piper, who is the 15.
Gary Flynn as well.
There they go. So that brings the pack down to just 8. Those 2 were in a decent spot before that. Let's take a look what happened. That is not a good spot to squeeze 3 wide.
6 laps, meanwhile, remaining. Vallejos with the advantage, and depending on provisionals here, this entire pack that we're seeing 2 by 2 may be all in the feature. We're not too sure yet. The 9th place driver, by the way, no back to the 8th place driver, Jeff Rietti, did lose the lead pack. Again, it's lost a couple of car lengths. We'll see if he can gain that up. He was able to do one time. He should be able to do it the second time, possibly. We'll have 5 laps of racing to go here. And if you're the 56 and maybe even the 79 up top, you're getting a little bit nervous. You're thinking it's crunch time. You better be pushing for your life here.
5 laps to go in this one. It's Williams that leads the insides. Vallejos on the outside as they make their way through turn 1. Mind lap traffic is also in the mix here, helping Eddie a little bit. Austin Norris staying to the bottom. This pack tries to figure out who gets the advantage on. Race control is officially confirmed. Top 7 is for sure in. So if you're Eddie, who has damage, by the way, that's why he's not closed up fully, Marty. You gotta hope for something here. You cannot close up fully with a question front nose like they have.
If I'm Eddie, I'm pleading that 57, who is a lap car, by the way, Austin Norris. Please help me or something like that. I want to be working with the 30s. I want to get a tow off the 37 as well. A car we know is very fast. But yeah, if you're Eddie, you are hoping that one of the drivers here in these final 4 laps will get involved in this wreck. They just posted in the chat top 7. So you're feeling a lot more comfortable if you're Trevor Nova or Harold Tucker, but you're still hanging on as you're on that thin bubble though at the moment.
Indeed. So that's all been confirmed to the competitors here to raise that bar with 3 laps to go this time. 3 laps to go at the stripe. A little bit of bobbling up at the front of the group as Eddie still tries to hold on for dear life. Of note, Flynn and Piper are packed. They're several seconds back, though 13 specifically. The next pack of drivers with clean trucks, you have to go all the way back 26 seconds to Hunt, Shabelsky, and Laster. That's how big some of the separation is for some of the competitors here as we close in late, Sky. Things are getting very high, and this is a nightmare situation if you're the 18 and you are just a sitting duck.
Yeah, if you're one of these cars up here, one of the 04 or the 49, you're just hoping no one wrecks. You're wishing this line was single file here, so you have a better chance of getting in. Some of these cars, though, are really going at it. The 56 gives a big shot there to the 49 car. He wants to get a better qualifying position in the A-main by winning this LCQ race. The issue is, he might end up getting into somebody in the process and really shaking up this running order.
You know what's coming up in front of these guys, though? A pack of lappers. Yeah, they are not working together, by the way. They just got single file in front. Side draft coming to a lap and a half to go for Vallejos, trying to get the bottom line pulled back. The inside got the better run because they picked up the draft from the lappers.
Yeah, that high side got stalled out at the same time. Not only from that, Casey Sawatch with a big side draft as well off the 49. He's now stuck down the 5th position. It's a single file train. Harold Tucker still with the final transfer spot at the moment. He's feeling a little bit more comfortable because of this train, but a run to the inside up the middle. Big move from Williams. White flag waving. Final lap underway.
Final time around. Remember, all the top 7 need to do is do not crash. Can they accomplish that for a lap? Right now, they have ditched Eddie because of the slalom course with the lap traffic. Williams running the bottom, looking to hold on as nobody is willing to force it to the outside.
It's about how greedy do you want to be? Do you want to go to the outside and gain a spot or not? It's not even worth it at this rate. You're all in the show. Just keep the train to the checkered flag, then he can crash.
Here we go, coming out of turn 4. Williams holds on in front. Santic doesn't go for it, but Argenio will try and go for a spot. He loses one instead. It's Williams in front. Santic, Noble, Vallejos, Argenio, Trago, and Tucker III are your top 7. That is unofficially your cut for the LCQ. Now, It's the waiting game to see who gets the rest of the spots before the next session gets populated.
And Jeff did post in the chat, do not leave after the LCQ until the names are confirmed and that new session is up. And Jeff is announcing it right now. I'm going to list. We're going to hear Jeff here.
2 minutes.
So that'll be a couple minutes. That'll be a couple minutes that he is confirmed planted out there. So now it's the waiting process to be able to plan things out, to make sure of things here, Marty. What a race, to say the very least. Let's take a look at your unofficial race result. Unofficially, it's Williams in front. It's Sonic in second. Noble, Vallejos in the top 4. Argenio, Drago, Tucker the third. Eddie, Flynn, and Piper were your top 10. Remember, unofficially, top 7 are in the show, Marty.
11th, Sam Boutwell. 12th, Jacob Dawson. 13th, Brian Zabelski. 14th, Brayton Laster. 15th, Brad Hunt. They all finished on the lead lap. Austin Norris was with the pack at the end, 16th. Same with Michael Winner, 17th. Austin Meese, 18th. Shane Tierney, 19th. Hunter Foley, your top 20.
21st went to Benjamin Elliott. Then it's Carden in 22nd. Henry, Fleming, Cornice, McCombs, Thorpe Jr., Miller, Carlisle, Maconi were the rest of the running order. Maconi, remember, was race control for this event. A wild one, to say the very least, Marty, in the very end for your LCQ, as we expected.
Yeah, didn't see them go into a single file train at the end, but that lap traffic helped a lot of people out. I think it basically helped everybody out because they were in a better position to advance in instead of get in a lot of trouble, double wide, really good chance of contact possibly. Who knows? We got Jeff making the announcement.
Brayton ran that, and I did not put a qualifying time in. I actually miscounted in the absolute chaos and mayhem. It is the top 9, not top 7, top 9. So if you finished top 9, Jeffrey Eddy, Gary Flynn, you are in and good to go. So here is the full starting order, in order. Jared Davis, Vinny Tigner, Dave Hoytsma, Carson Bechtold, Keegan Sabilo, Dean Brummett, Steve Ritter, Carson Lucas, Aiden Howard, Blake Dorney is top 10. 11th, David Petchel, Tyler Cheney, Michael Krobach, Billy Rickett, Ryan Kilbashian, Jeremy Briggs, Larry
They're just
Pace,
going through the rest
Carter
of the
Casey,
official
Joseph
results here
Tucker,
at this point.
Sean Futrell is 20th. Greg Maconi, Tom Bone, Dwayne Corbett, Dan LaBelle, Peter Smetana was the top 25 from qualifying. Andrew Willias is 26th. Casey Saywich, 27th. Travis Noble, 28th. Kyle Vallejos, 29th. Brendan Argenio, 30th. Then you have Trevor Trigo, Harold Tucker, the third. Jeffrey Eddy, Gary Flynn, Brayton Laster, and Jeffrey Maconi rounding out the field. There were 6 provisionals. 4 of them were able to make it tonight, and those were Larry Pace, Joseph Tucker got one last night. I have one as a past winner. Brayton Laster has one as one of our celebrities. We were going to have Alex Clubb, but he got snowed in. We were going to have Zach Novak, but he had to change travel plans. And then one of the backup provisionals was Justin Yee, and I don't know if he had a hot date or what, but he was not able to make it. So that is the starting order. The session for the race will be up within as possible.
So that's a listen in on the provincials. As you heard, the field is set for tonight. And again, you heard some of the drivers that got the provincials. That'll start at the tail tonight, Marty. The field is locked in and set. Top 9 is a big surprise, though, and it really helps those who lost the draft and really adds to the chaos that we've seen for the drivers that had incidents.
Yeah, so if you're Eddie or Flynn, you feel a lot better now. Huge weight off your shoulders now that you're in the show. I believe Gary Flynn was in one of the accidents as well. I believe the final accident that we had shown on camera. So he's a little bit more thankful that he was able to get the win out of that. And in fact, here's the gap for those that were wondering between Flynn and Piper, 0.03 of a second. So Brock Piper's got to be heartbroken that as of right now, he's not in.
So let the session get built, and everyone will then re-rack them for a full distance, 100 laps for Saturday for the boys. We'll take a break. You're watching Maconi Entertainment.
The way I approach life has been taught through swimming. If there's something not going your way, there's probably something you can do about it. But a cancer diagnosis, you can only control so much. That element of control lost was just, it was a lot to swallow. The beginning of winter in 2018, I kind of brushed up against myself. Most guys can attest, it usually hurts, but this hurt a little more than it should have. I realized that my testicle was swollen and hard. It wasn't normal. That's when I knew, I was like, I gotta go in. My ultrasound came back. We had a mass that was vascularized. That's the checkbox. You have testicular cancer. And we, removed my testicle. I had just gotten married. We had just bought a house. This wasn't part of the plan. But there's going to be a lot of things in life you can control, and then there's going to be things like this that you can't. A lot was going through my mind. Anxiety, it was sadness, it was fear. It wasn't hopelessness, but it was just this powerlessness. My job is to be healthy, and this still happened. Fortunately for me, there was just a lot of people there that were really, really supportive.
He had his bad days, but he had such a positive mindset throughout the entire process. He really tried to see the positive and control what he could. His optimism really impressed me, honestly, every day. Talking to doctors, talking to teammates who had gone through this, he did so many things during his journey to control what he could and to make each step of the way better.
There is this huge stigma around testicular cancer. Men, have this direct correlation equivocating their masculinity to, having, grow a pair, right? Well, I don't have a pair anymore. I only have one. I think that, the way to break that down is to do exactly what we're doing right now in talking about it. I don't feel like any less of a man because I have one testicle. Because I did go see the doctor when I did catch it early, my outcome was eventually going to be okay. And we had already put in a lot of work into getting to 2020. So there was no doubt that eventually after, whatever the treatment may be, I was gonna at least give it a try. I still think that I can still improve. And there's so many people that come to me and they're saying, man, it's cool that you're able to show others that you can get back on it. Not let this alter or change what your dreams are. So hopefully they can take what I'm doing and be a little bit inspired by it too.
There's the age-old cliche that it's always about the logo on the front and not on the name on the back, and I think we all were kind of ingrained on that. We had our humble core covenant that Darcy made up, and that was in our dressing room, and we walked by that every day, and we all took pride in the crest we wore, and we came to the rink every day, and we knew that it was truly a great day to be a Bronco no matter what. And we spent a ton of time together, and we had a special bond. Unfortunately, I don't remember anything from that whole day. People have told me little bits and pieces that I kind of can put together, but for the most part, I don't remember anything. It was just a unique situation. We were 19 to 21-year-old kids and just experienced something that nobody should ever experience. So I don't think any of us knew really how to cope with it. I hid my emotions for a bit, and I think some of the guys did as well. Being able to be distracted and keep busy was good for the time being, but once it caught up to you, it caught up to you hard. Growing up, I was definitely a guy who didn't really want to show weakness and kind of be there for everybody else. Coming to the realization that it's about me, and it can be about me, and that's okay. When I came to that realization, it was good, because then I was able to do what I needed to do and kind of take those necessary steps in order to actually heal. What I've come to realize is the mental health and the mind, it takes time. If you're able to take care of yourself and to put your mental health first, then you can at least move forward. It's hard, and it's a grind every day. The support around Canada and the way everybody rallied and it sticks out by the door and everything, I think it just proved to us that people really do care whether they know you or not. I still have people from Newfoundland messaging me and making sure I'm okay, and that just shows how important hockey is to every single community in Canada. The hockey community especially is a small community. We all know each other and we all kind of care about each other. Obviously, I'm never going to be able to replace that dressing room atmosphere and those people in that dressing room on that team, but coming back and being able to kind of get away from everything else and just come out on the ice and just try to have fun again. Even my mom said she saw me smile again, and she saw me having fun on the ice again, and that's huge. My overall message would just be to realize that you're not okay, and if you're not okay, do something about it. I think a lot of people just suffer in silence, so being able to open up it takes a lot of courage. I just need to take the necessary steps, and writing is therapeutic, speaking about it is therapeutic, and being able to write about my story or my journey and being able to share that, and it's therapeutic in itself. Now I'm hopefully being able to touch people and give them a sense of hope, and I think people need that.
It's time for the main event. It's Saturday for the boys, the charity race that benefits Movember, and it is time for 100 laps of racing action here on Maconi Entertainment. I'm Justin Prince once again alongside as Marty Zakawa and Sky Shrek once again on pit road this evening. Hallie Burrows is our producer once again here tonight from the World Center of Racing. The field is set. Just about the entire field has made its way into the session for tonight here, Marty. It's just about time to see who's having what it takes tonight to win at Daytona.
Yeah, a lot on the line here once again. Obviously, a couple $100 on the line, but more importantly, it is all for Movember, and we have continued to raise some good money throughout the week. Over $1,300 raised for charity. You can donate now by going out to the website. You see on the bottom of your screen. Altogether, over $8,000 that have been raised. Now, the stakes are a lot higher because it's a couple $100, but it's Daytona. But obviously, Movember is the main cause here in this situation.
Absolutely, bring awareness to men's health and being able to raise money for those different causes. After all, they invest in country and culture-specific health projects that collaborate on game-changing solutions to address mental health on a global scale. Here's the race information for tonight. 100 laps as mentioned your distance. There is a faster pair. Tire sets aren't an issue, but not expecting tire wear to be the biggest issue. 3 green-white checkers if necessary, though. And I turn to you, Sky, because you have some notes that were forwarded over involving some of that strategy that we need to see.
Yeah, fuel is looking to be around 30 to 33 laps tonight here for a lot of these drivers. That's what we're looking to see. So if this race were to go green, we would likely expect 2 pit stops. Maybe if these drivers don't save enough, a 3rd pit stop towards the end just for fuel. Of course, if we get some cautions, that'll kind of shake up everything, and we'll have to see where it plays out from that point. I've been told that 3 wide from some of the drivers tonight is going to be pretty difficult. The trucks like to get wobbly with this setup, especially in a pack, so you're going to see maybe some incidents going 3 wide, maybe especially in the early portions of the race, drivers just opting to keep it 2 wide like you might typically do in the early stages of a race around Daytona. Tire wear never really a factor here. We won't have to worry about that. All the pit stops are going to be driven by fuel. I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe see some fuel-only strategy here.
Especially if we get cautions, precautions like tonight. After all, it was more than an hour and a half for the amount of cautions we got last night. But It's a different show in terms of the stakes. Again, your winner tonight will get $150 and a custom 1 meter tall trophy. Second place gets $100, third place gets $75, fourth gets $50, fifth gets $25, and you get a $20 bill from 6th to 10th position on the end of the night's running grid. So, speaking of the starting grid, we're about to get to it because warm-up is complete. All the drivers are in session. All 36 have made it in, and it's time to get ready to go racing. As the drivers transition over to the next session here, let's get ready to start things off. Remember, in the qualifying session in the other session, it was Jared Davis who set the pole over Vinny Tigner. Those drivers set times in the 51-second bracket most of the field, 36 as mentioned. Davis, 51 flat on the pole. Dave Hoitzman third, then it's Carson Brechtel who was in the fourth spot. Sabilo will start in fifth with Dean Brummett making an appearance. He'll start in sixth position. Seventh tonight goes the way of Steve Ritter. Carson Lucas of the famous Lucas Oil family in eighth position. Aiden Howard and Blake Doherty, your top 10.
11th, David Pachal in the number 20 ride. Well, excuse me, number 42 ride. Next to him is Tyler Cheney in the 7th. The 7th row, Michael Strobach. One of the only Canadian, I believe, in this field. Nope, one of two. He starts 13th. Billy Rickett next to him in 14th. Row 8, Ryan Kilbashian in the 10. Next to Jeremy Briggs in the 48. Pair of Chevys make up row 8. Same with row 9 with Larry Pace in the 00. Carter Casey in the 29. And same for row number 10. Joseph Tucker in the 8. And Sean Futrell, in the 36.
Greg Maconi starts running first with Tom Bone in the 22nd position. Dwayne Corbett will start in 23rd with Dan LaBelle 24th. Your last driver in on time was a couple 1,000ths in. Peter Smetana was in the 25th position. Andrew Williams was in 26th. Sonich was in 27th with Travis Noble in 28th. Leo's in 29th. And Brendan Eugenio was in 30th.
31st, final 6 cars on the grid. Trevor Trago in the 72. Harold Tucker the 3rd in the 1. Jeff Eddy, then Gary Flynn, Brayton Laster, and Jeff Maconi make up the field of 36 for the 100-lap feature.
Now that we're in the big show, what are the keys to victory tonight, Marty?
Survive the first 90% because Daytona truck races are chaotic. The arrow is punchier. The handling is lighter. Drivers more aggressive early. The number one key, though, you can't get caught up in the big one. Whether it's riding safely in the back or the front, the middle is that danger zone, avoiding packs. They're pushing 3 wide early and working with teammates to stay clear of trouble. Master the push and be the push. The rear bumpers are square with the trucks, making pushing easier, but also more dangerous. You don't want to be offline when it comes to pushing or else it cause a big wreck. Control the run. Don't just hold the throttle down. Pick the right lane at the right time. Finally, pit stops. Green flag pit stops could decide this race if we do have them. You cannot pit alone. If you do, you're going to lose a lot of track time. And finally, be patient until it's time not to be. The winning move usually comes off of turn number 4 coming to the checkers.
We're happy to have you with us for Saturday for the Boys for 2025. It's time to race for Movember. As one driver crashes out the back, the rest of the field is coming to green. We're underway from Daytona. That was Gary Flynn, by the way, who had issues. He's already towed the truck. No caution. It's automatic caution for tonight. Keep in mind, we also had Joseph Tucker already lose the draft. A little bit of chaos to start, but after all, it's a long way to go. We'll see how the field races it out.
That's why Saturdays are for the boys. They get a little wild when they run on Saturday nights here. Across the start-finish line, Jared Davis, the early leader on Vinny Tigner. as they are double wide throughout the front. I want to say the front 10 rows on back. Everyone else behind them, they're playing a very patient and idle play.
See where the original advanced cut line was when it comes to the race earlier on. But some of the drivers here are trying to play it safe. Last night, Jeff Maconi immediately ducked under the apron. He just did so now at the back of the field. A multiple-time winner in this event. Some of the other winners included Jeremy Stanley and Patrick Clark in previous years. So you have to think, if you have some of the experience like you see of a Maconi or of a Lucas in previous years, or a Pace, some of these drivers are going to absolutely try and keep their trucks safe, knowing how crazy things got just in the recruitment race last night, where he had near double-digit cautions in a 50 lap.
Yeah, the recruitment race can get wild at times, and it could get wild early. This is typical start Daytona fashion, where we see the drivers go double wide. It's going to take one bad push, and then everyone's going to realize, yeah, we made a mistake. We want to be single file throughout a majority of this one. But you see Tigner still trying to make that run on the outside with help from Carson Baytall. And I talked about this earlier on in the broadcast, Justin. Straightaways, high side is your friend. In the corners, low side's your friend.
Absolutely. We're seeing everybody just playing the cautious game. It's all you can really say at the back of the field or at the front of the field. Just trying to play out who gets things set up at the front of the field. We'll say we have a lot of interesting names up at the front. Bill in particular, Samaro should say, amongst those going to be keeping an eye on from the league scene. Had some short track racing experience in that 77. You see him third of the line at the bottom. Usually, Munso's contending in NIS competition these days in the Guy Racing Service, working with Justin Levine and that racing team. So far, he's looking pretty solid, just trying to keep it careful in the O-line.
One driver nearly got forced 3 wide near the front. That was Carson Baytall in the 59. You don't want to be going 3 wide early because it can lead to disaster. This is not Talladega. 3 wide is possible, but expect driver to save that lane to go, and because of that, lost a little momentum on that high side. That 13 of Tigner.
Yep. Look at that block. Dave Hoytsma wanted to move up to the top. The field said no. Well, at least one said no, and that was Tigner, and instead he'll go to the back. Lucas is up there with Dorney on the 3rd line, and that was one of the major things, Scott, in turn to you. Brandon Laster was amongst those who talked before today's race based on what he felt in the truck. Can it get sketchy 3 wide, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Brayton told me it was going to get maybe a little sketchy 3 wide, and I think we've certainly seen some of that early on in this race, drivers having issues keeping the car in line. I think you're going to see double file mostly for, I would say, the first 2 pit stops of this race. Once we get down to the end of this thing, all the cautions have gone away, maybe 30 to go. That's when you'll see cars push it a little further. But it's maybe just more risk than reward to do it at this point.
Bill making his way to the high side. Meanwhile, the 2022 CRA late model champion looking to try and find his way to the point. Working with one of the Maconi setup shop drivers and Hoytsma. Right now, that line not getting too much push. They do have the former C-Fix champion, Dean Brummett, also up there, Marty. A lot of talent when it comes to Brummett we've seen in these types of races, as we see the 59 get pushed up the track.
Yeah, Brummett's in that top percentile of those that know how the truck rides very well in these C-Fix setups. He's got a lot of experience driving these things and knows when it's time to go, especially at Daytona. He's up near the front of the field, so he's gaining some experience here, whether it be up front or either way out back. He started back in 6th. Understanding the draft here early on here, trying to understand his opponents, if they move around a lot, if they don't move around a lot. But across the line is Keegan Sobolo, the late model driver, out in front.
Sobolo makes his way out front, but it's Dave Hoytsma who's got the assistance. Trying to work his way on by, still nothing doing. Keep in mind, on, about 30, 33 laps going to be that fuel window to keep in mind for tonight. So that's got to be some of the mindfulness some of these drivers have this evening here too, Marty, is making sure you manage those fuel numbers, because you're talking about the possibility if you go 33, 66, maybe 99, you're talking about if it goes green and you massively fuel save, getting very close to cutting a stop. It's going to be tough, but it is a possibility.
The window, like Sky mentioned early on as you ride on board here with Jeff, the window about 30 to 33 laps or so. But don't be surprised if drivers, when they make that final pit stop, they try to pit with around 20, 25 to go or so, or split that in half, just so that way they don't have to pit going into overtime in case we need it.
Yes. See the Maconi's on the camera, by the way, in the right-hand corner. You see big differences in setups. Jeff Maconi, of course, got the VR setup with the full monitors in front. They are running next to each other at the back, as you would expect. Working together here. Communication is key. You have to think between the Maconi's, especially with Jeff with the winning experience here. But Greg, fair bit of league experience we've seen on various networks when it comes to his abilities in 12.
I'm one that actually has run with Greg. Well, I don't know if I want to say really in real life, but I believe I competed against him in a time trial race in real life at Michigan not too many years ago here. Noticeable block, though, by Keegan Sobolo on the 07. Very close to being dangerous as Burmer was up on that quarter panel. Now we start to see Hoytsma having a little bit of blinking. That's something you don't want to see, especially at the front of the field of Daytona. Look at the low line stack up there. Some movement off of Jared Davis, and through for a moment when another car, but it's Brummett temporarily leading. Hoytsma still blinking. Now it's in the middle of the low line, which is something you don't want to see. Would not be surprised if drivers started complaining about that.
Yeah, that's going to be an issue. There is a detection that's been mentioned for the drivers. Basically, we've had too many technical issues. The penalty flag that is on for this race tonight. It's automatic from race control, same as automatic for this evening. So it's something Dave Hoytsma will have to keep an eye on the rest of the way here to make sure no technical issues. Gary Flynn, by the way, has made his way into the race. He was black flagged for crashing into the pit wall, essentially, to start the race. He's now coming down to serve that black flag as Sobolo coming to the point. 77 getting some help. Tyler Cheney. He was sporty last night, Marty. He's up front yet again and looking pretty solid in the 54. Looks like he's trying to keep himself up front for the lead.
Cheney started back in 12th, and a huge push coming from behind by Tigner, who, remember, was right near the front on the high side. That little small stack of it. Also behind him, Mr. Lucas himself, Carson Lucas, has found his way from the third line that didn't work earlier on. Now he's one of 7 drivers on that outside lane, helping try and get this 54 out to the lead.
Cheney, one of the drivers that runs in Spartan competition, trying to get himself forward, now pushing Dean Brummett. Lap traffic is ahead, and it is Joseph Tucker who is just up the field. So, the driver who won last night's recruitment race and is now trying to survive here, runs up high. He had packet issues during the starting grid and opening of the race procedures, essentially, which put him behind the 8 ball. This will put him 35th in the lucky dog spot, and we'll have to hope that no one else loses the main pack here and he gets a caution flag.
Yeah, it's something very risky at Daytona. I've been a victim of this in the next-gen car, losing the draft in the back, and Tucker trying to get it off the 00. He merged up right in front of Aiden Howard, something I would have to have a feeling he's not going to be too pleased about, but Tucker right now in the lucky dog spot. Now you're thinking, if you're the Maconis, boy, oh boy, I better hope I don't lose this draft either, because they're the final cars on the lead lap. But they're, like I said, they're playing it safe, and I don't blame them. This is a long, long race.
That's why the majority of those from the LCQ, I think, here have not made their way forward, Sky. Only one driver from the LCQ has gone up double-digit spots, let alone outside the top 25 or so. That's Vallejos, who's up 19, 20 spots.
He said if Vallejos is up 19 at the moment, he's the biggest mover in your race. The only car, I think, even up double-digit spots here. The next would be Tyler Cheney, who's gone from 12 to 4 so far in this race. Other LCQ drivers all still hanging out at the back. You've still got Tucker, 28th. Laster had to take the provisional, 29. Noble is in 24th. All those guys still outside the top 20. With a long way to go here, but with 85 laps left, they've certainly got some time to be able to make that back up, as we're getting really racy up here at the front of the field.
Yes, indeed. We're seeing that side-by-side build up still on the point. Lowe still trying to get the edge, but Brummett now leads that inside line in the 07 for the time being. Still, though, some of the air drivers up here to keep an eye on, too. Carson Lucas, who's been a fair bit in these races over the years, the past couple especially. That 88 machine, of course, connections as mentioned to Lucas Oil in real life, Marty. He's right now 4th on the outside line.
Yeah, Lucas started 8th in this one, right in that same spot. And speaking of 88s, they're approaching some more lap traffic. That's Flynn, the 15, who, remember, had that accident going into the green flag, so that puts him a boatload of more laps down. So just Flynn just riding around, basically just hoping he has a little bit of fun, at least riding around this, and I hope he does still. So, but yeah, going back to Carson Lucas, we're in the 8th position. Brendan Reliance will help as well at the same time. He's got the 36 of Sean Futrell, I believe, and not up 35 of Vallejos. Remember, this was the driver I said to keep an eye on coming out of this B main, because we all knew how he could run and find those gaps to get some pushes to go up to the lead at the time. But this is what he doesn't want, though. 3 wide with Larry Pace.
He's trying to go for it on the high side again. Driving through Halifax, trying to make some moves on the high side. He's brought Michael Krobach up there. Krobach, fair bit of league experience, well respected in iRacing circles for many years now. Hooking up with fellow Canadian. Look at the tandem draft.
Now, this run's going to work out very well. The trucks are known for tandem drafting as well at times. Now the question is Lucas going to go up there or is somebody else? This is risky. You know the drivers in that 54 and the 13 and the 77, they're not going to like that they're 3 wide. Lucas is going up there as well. 3 by 3 by 3 amongst the front 3 rows. This is only lap 18, boys.
This is where you have to be careful. Pretty good Racing League driver on the push. The former eNASCAR crew chief on the charge, on the high side. Pace these days running for EPI with that North Force connection. He tries to get the edge. The sportsman racer from Scotia Speed World sees Somalo move down. That was a little bit tight.
Very risky indeed. You don't want to be blocking like that early, and you don't want to be bump drafting like that early as well. We saw Dean Brummett get that slight push to Tyler Cheney, and this could allow Tigner to take advantage of it from Lucas. Also the same as well for Larry Pace from Michael Schrobach.
What do you say about this guy?
Yeah, we heard from Brayton Laster and some drivers earlier that you can really get loose when you're 3 wide like this, and we've seen it right now. The cars in the middle are kind of struggling to hold this line, but so are the cars on the bottom, kind of sliding up the track a little bit. This track a lot more narrower than one like Talladega, so you've got less room to move, less room to breathe. And if you're stuck in the middle, if you're not going to the front, you might want to do what Vallejos just did and pull it up into that top line, at least for increased stability. He's going to go back down the middle, though. He wants to clear Pace on the top.
You know, Sky, something that this shows me is I wouldn't be surprised now that we know that the high side, the extreme high side next to the safer barrier, that it can work. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going 3 by 3 for the win in the final laps. Another big block for Tigner as he cut down in front of Sobolo. Now this high side may start to dissipate a little bit, because look how stacked they are. Oh boy, but Justin Carson Lucas is in the sucker hole. That's somewhere you don't want to be.
Yes, indeed. The pilot of the Lucas Oil Pro late model, also experiencing a super truck, getting put into the sucker hole as a result. Does have a little bit of help behind.
Trouble!
Oh, trouble!
The 72!
Grobach gets the save, but they're still piling up on the inside. There they go. The 42's around. Kilpashian and the 10's around. And we're under caution for the first time tonight. And it comes past the 20 lap mark.
Dorney and Baytall also involved early. Here's a look at what happened. And this is the risk of going 3 wide here into turn 1. But I think it was a bad bump drift. Watch near the front, though, here. And give credit to everyone for checking up like that, because that could have been a lot more disastrous. First off, a good save by the 72, then the 35 gets some damage. They, though, kept it straight, but the calamity happened behind.
Yeah, and that ends up stacking everybody up on that yellow line as a result. You expected potential chaos with 3 wide. We get potential chaos. Here's a look full speed.
Looks like the worst of it went to the 42 of Paychal. And luckily, all the drivers here, 1 quick repair like we mentioned pre-race. But now if you have that, if you've already used that quick repair, most likely if you want to be battling for the win at the end, you're probably going to be hanging out in the back of the field. Here's the onboard here. I believe this is Paychal in the 42.
And Sky, you've seen this too. You talked about that potential possibility, and now under caution with a lot of drivers with damage.
Yeah, one thing I'm noticing here is that there wasn't really too much hard contact. You saw a couple drivers there who got pretty heavily in it, might have to take the fast repair, but that's only 2 or 3. One thing about this track is that when you come down pit road, you have a long time to get the truck fixed. About 1.5 minutes because of how long the pace laps here are. I don't think there were too many cars involved in that who took more than 1.5 minutes or so of damage. So the worst of them are gonna likely use that fast repair, but a lot of drivers could just get it fixed as it is and get it back out on the racetrack. I think we're gonna see pit stops here from pretty much everybody as we're getting near the fuel window. Should still be 2 more pit stops after this one. The full field is gonna come.
Yes, indeed, they come down pit road, and Lucky Dog goes to Tucker as a result of this yellow flag. By the way, that will put him on the lead lap as everybody else makes the way to the box. One driver really missed their stall. Carson Lucas is still up against the pit wall trying to get into the box. Everybody else, for the most part, has made their way through. A couple rolled through. Daytona and Vallejos did not stop for some reason, as Larry Pace was the first one to complete service. Sadic was amongst those who did not stop either, it appears. Surprisingly, at least 3 drivers missed their stalls, Marty, in the sequence.
Yeah, this is something you got to practice, especially the fact that, you know, you could have the long run at times. You get a break, sort of, with you just lose the track position, obviously. Get a break sort of under the yellow flag, but this is something you don't want to have happen under the green flag, because if it can, you may be all alone in the draft or probably have just a lot less drafting partners with you.
The fuel now going to be quite simplified here. Talk about the breakdown. It is now, because of the way the caution broke down there. Couple stopper. So we'll have to see. We should see everyone who you would have to think at least rolled through pit road have to come down. You have drivers with significant damage that have crushed in left and front. Let's see what happened to Dave Hoytsma, hearing there might have been some bit of troubles there.
It could have been one of those speeding penalty type situations, because I know sometimes in the online races, you'll get nabbed for having a longer pit stop, or he may have. Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You saw he had to have that extra jab on the gas and then put it right back in the brakes because he was too far back.
Fast repair taken by Vallejo's this time through. A few others, including the Maconi's, coming in to top off with where the fuel numbers could lie here for some. But Larry Pace, Jared Davis are your front row for this upcoming restart. Tigner and Somalo, Brummett and Cheney, Ritter and Huisma, Rickett. Top 9. Also up there is going to be Boutrell in P10. So we get ready to set things up here for the restart. Larry Pace's first led laps. Mind you, everybody in the top 5 has led at least 4 laps so far.
Yeah, this has been a really fun race up and down, and a lot of this with the top 5 all leading early had to do with 3 wide earlier on, before we had the accident that brought out our first caution. And so really sets the scene up here possibly for what the finish could entail. But now that we had our first caution fly on lap 19, expect this one to maybe calm down a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of a single file train. Now with all the drivers pitting on lap number 22, the next pit window should be around, I would say, 52, 55. So just be aware of that number should we stay green flag racing for a time.
Now we find out where things stand once we get past the quarter-way mark. A couple laps time for this field. Here we go. Pace car ready to drop down. A few drivers more lined up at the bottom than they are up on the top because of the way some of the drivers topped off there in the back. But the front is ready. The green flag is out. We're back underway with Larry Pace leading the pace now. See where things go over the course of this run as they build up momentum. Majority of the drivers back trying to get to the bottom. The high line, though, staying established and staying hard on the subtrack.
Big push as well. That came from Sobolo to Davis. To help them get to the lead, but this entire restart of fuel was all stacked up or accordion back where there were a lot of gaps, but guess what? The tandem push can sometimes work out. Now watch the run that Cheney and Huisma each get to try to help the 4 and the 77 get to the lead, but now it's 3 and 4. Larry Pace with the advantage for right now.
Keyword is right now. Davis gets the run a moment later on that mark. Takes the advantage. Davis now up to the point. So that at this point, the outside still staying strength in numbers for the most part, but that inside line, choo-choo training about a good quarter to half a mile with so many drivers stacked up.
And I think with Jared Davis there, I think this was a guy that just wanted to get right to the bottom as quick as he could. That's the safer way around the racetrack, especially if we do somehow get that accident. Because when you have the accidents in the turns, if it starts out low, because of the banking, it's going to go all the way up to the outside and then slowly trickle its way down to below the double yellow line, because that's just simply physics for you.
Yeah, you don't want to end up getting a blowover, let's put it that way, when it comes to tonight. You don't want to be that driver who flips upside down at Daytona. Ryan Reese, after all, is trying to be a rocket man in Snowball Derby these days.
Already happened to Dwayne Corbett back in happy hour. I saw it in practice earlier on. It was a wild blowover to say the least.
The physics here as, oh, look at this, 3 wide. Davis veered below the yellow line for a moment. It's 4 wide.
Yikes. 54 as well, caught the wall. Tyler Cheney, another one in the wall, the 70, and around he goes.
Caution flag is out. Hard hit for Carson Lucas as well.
Oh,
and a huge hit.
54, I believe. No, Vallejo's in the 35. Flipping over and over.
My goodness. What did we just say about not being one to flip? We just had that. 4 wide is a disaster here at Daytona. Just, I'm curious why Vallejo's was in there like a cannonball.
I would love to ride on board with him.
Yeah, that was wild. 35, by the way, has already used fast repair. Let's see. Did they get hit? Or did they miss something? Well, they definitely drove to one.
And oh no, Vallejo's got driven from behind, and the wild ride it goes.
Yeah, that was like near full throttle just about. Can't confirm. That was Gary Flynn who flew in full throttle. Gary Flynn was 10 truck lanes back.
Wow.
Where are the brakes?
That's just ARCA braking right there.
That's no brake until the last moment. Like, just listen.
That is, I have no words. And he's 10 laps down too as well in all of this too, Justin.
My goodness. I'm not sure what you can really say about that. And again, we'll sort things out on that as good portion of the field's pitting. You know why? The fuel numbers that some of the field got previously in that run could make this a one-stopper, Sky.
Well, we will have to see. It was about 36 was what we were estimating on the fuel run, so we will be right on that window. Drivers will certainly be cutting it close. I think if you're maybe closer to the front of the field and you're battling for the lead, you've got more air hitting your car, you might have maybe a lap less fuel when this is all said and done than some of the cars at the back, and that could be the difference.
Yes. And Gary Flynn is disqualified, by the way. As we'll say, people watching along, let's just say, will notice when a driver 10 laps down goes in rapid speed to an incident. That's all you can say as the rest of the field saxed up behind the pace car. It's going to be an interesting rest of the night, though, with the tone being set there, and at least 10 drivers now with heavy damage repair that they have to get sorted out here and do not want to use their fast repair for.
It's a smart decision to try and save that fast repair. It all depends on, though, what your pit time looks like for the repairs. As long as it's not terminal, that's the most important, then you have no choice but to use the fast repair. But if it's just enough where, because the lap times around Daytona under yellow are just under 2 minutes, if that's possible, then yeah, absolutely. Pit, use your pit time, and come back out on the tail end of the lead lap.
Yep. So, we're getting all set to go here. We're coming to 70 to go when we get the green flag. It's a one-stopper for those who just topped off. Likely, Jeff Maconi and Brandon Laster are amongst those who are topping off a second time this yellow flag. So we'll see where the field handles this now. My goodness. Tempers flare. By the way, remember, tonight is in support of Movember. So far, $1,373 raised. To donate, be sure to go to Maconi Setup Shop. And when you go to the For the Boys sign up, this link has changed, by the way, from previous nights. Originally, it was through the Maconi Setup Shop for the Movember sign up. It's now Movember.com/M/Maconi to be able to donate directly to support men's health. Once again, the website on screen is the best way to go to donate. To be able to do your part, the goal is $2,000 for 2025. So the field catching up here and getting sorted out here, Marty. Well, after that wild incident, we'll see how the field plays, if they're going to have the kid gloves on or if everyone's going to keep the ramped up intensity.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if, because look, we've got 70 laps to go in this race when we take the green flag. just hug the yellow line. I mean, yes, it's not the best experience for the fans watching. Maybe for some drivers, it's not the best experience, but you're staying patient. You want to be there at the end. That's when it's most important. And all these drivers know if they're in it, they got a chance to win it.
And now it's the matter of, can you survive 70 more laps? Vallejos is your first driver out because they used up fast repairs. That driver, remember, was sent to the moon. So, the field is set for the green. To the restart zone we roll. All the way to the end of it. Sabalo on the gas. Clearing the outside already. Should see him stay to the inside based on the trends, though.
You know, no surprise here. Larry Pace, lovely outside in that first run before the first yellow. I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps it until he maybe finds a way to get clear of Sobilo.
Right now you can just see how hard they're trying to push here. Stability has to be the key when it comes to how well you push. If you destabilize that line, well, trouble usually. Right now, Tigner.
Big run coming as well for that 13 car of Tigner to help outpace. Everyone looking good together here early in this, but again, keyword, early.
Yes. I was about to mention with Tigner, he is leaving a little bit of a gap in some of these areas. He's not going to push hard. He can't just keep push, stay sealed up. If you do that, that's a good way to pop quality. You have to play with the temperatures here too.
Yes.
Keep an eye on those gauges.
That is very key here. I've been a victim of it. Carson Hocevar was a victim of it on his live stream in the Daytona 500 rain delay. You do not want to be all over the spoiler. The man that's got the big advantage when it comes to having this clean air right now, both Pace, both Sobolo, their engine temps are cool. Right now, it's increasing a little bit for that 13, but it provides them with a little bit of an advantage as well. You can notice as well as he goes into the corners how much he's lifting. If you watch from an aerial type shot, he's lifting a lot, increasing that gap a little bit, just so he's not all over that can cause another big wreck.
Yep. At this point, you can just see how things are playing out now for Joseph Tucker, by the way. Going from a lap down to the top 10, just like that, just about. Not bad work after the Lucky Dog just a few points ago. You see his camera.
Yeah, Tucker taking advantage of that after fading to the back very early on in the race. Now this high side is strung back up together. Last time by going down the super stretch, the 07 got accordion off of the 4, and this allowed both Tyler Cheney, Dave Hoytsma, and Carter Casey to close in on the front of this pack. And this is looking pretty good early on. I'm looking at 13 up to maybe 20 cars in this lead pack. And how about the 72 as well? Michael Schrobach here too, Justin. This was a guy involved in that first caution flag after he got sideways in turn 2 that caused the accordion further back up into 12th.
Yeah, but now, when you have talent, you can find your way to the front. Just seems to work that way in these types of races. You know where to pick the lines. You know where to be able to go. And for now, teammates are sticking with teammates. And that's the major thing too. You expect you to work with your buddies and your friends for much of the way. In fact, there were a lot of people tonight in this race that have built up partnerships of 2 to 4 people, and those are just amongst those in the Maconi Entertainment Discords together. A lot of drivers are willing to work together, communicate what's going on, stay on the same page, and all this is while one driver's page apparently says, "Go to the apron."
Yeah, it can be the case at times. On board the 27 here, and he's made the safe and sorry decision to go the apron, fade back a little bit. You know, it can be a smart decision at times, but at other points in the race, it could be risky, especially if you know, do get that long run. But you want to make sure that as well that Casey saw, which, and I would have to assume he did. You got to make your fellow opponents aware that, hey, you're going to go below the apron off of turn 2, that they know you're fading back.
You know who just faded back? You know what the beauty of having a good internet connection is and making sure your hardware isn't going bad? As Big Bacon goes to the bottom again, guess who just blinked out, disappeared, and came back out of the pack? It's Joseph Tucker. He just lost the pack because he had a tech issue again.
And that may be what's been his issues here throughout this race. He's just hoping he doesn't go another lap down. Another driver that's faded all the way out of this lead pack, Greg Maconi. Now, I want to say that he was involved in that big accident we had in that last caution flag. So he's hoping that he doesn't get lapped, but if he does get lapped and is the first car lap down, if we get a yellow flag, he would be the free pass car. And now we're starting to see a chase for the lead again from Larry Pace. And that high side not lined up the way they want to keep it straight compared to that bottom group.
Yep, and now, see them all playing things out right now. Some more drivers having tech issues on the outside, but outside of that, things look pretty stable. Right now, remember, there is that 5 to 6 lap difference. A lot of these drivers that they're going to have to keep an eye on for their fuel gauges. The rest of the way, we're about halfway or so for the fuel run for the front field of the field outside of Dave Hoytsma and Michael Krobach. That math is going to be so critical, Sky. That offset, critical on the strategy part of the game here tonight. That's why so many people topped off in the first place despite losing the track position. That front of the field has to be playing for more carnage.
Yeah, those drivers who stayed out on that chance to top up about 9 or 10 laps ago are definitely hoping that we're going to get another caution, because I believe those cars who did not top or who did top up about 10 laps to go are in the better position on fuel. They might not be able to go all the way. I think they're still going to need to save a little, even if this thing were to go green at the end, but at least they can save and make it. Those top 7 or so cars that stayed out, they're going to have to pit twice pretty much no matter what happens down the stretch.
It's where heavy fuel saving comes to play. Some of the drivers right now running almost 190 miles per hour down the straightaways. Mike Krobach able to get to the inside line, it looks like, at this point.
Notice as well, Sobilo, big help from the four. Oline had the advantage on the back straightaway because they were all nose to tail on each other and were bump drafting perfectly. But now big push coming from Tigner to try and give Pace the lead once again. At the line, though, it was Sobilo. The high side, the positions amongst who's up there haven't really changed from the drop of the green flag, and Pace couldn't get the clear down into turn number 1, forced to stay on the outside. We'll see if he can get that somehow. We got 60 to go, and we can come across the line next time by.
Still lots of racing to go, as there's Greg Maconi. Greg Maconi doesn't even have a left front fender. That's how bad the damage is on his machine as he's in the wall. Hold on to it, he does. You can see a little bit of the nervousness on the camera there. He's just hoping and praying for a caution flag to continue to get more repairs done. Hasn't happened though with the way the trends have gone. Some of the other drivers, go ahead.
He's just hoping for some room there at the same time, looking at his lips there and that onboard. Now at this race, just hoping that Joseph Tucker is not the next to get lapped, and based off where the drivers are, Joseph's exiting turn 4.
And work the way onto the back straightaway through turn 3 again. And some of the other drivers that we haven't touched much on. Steve Ritter, give him credit so far. He's been amongst the drivers who qualified towards the front, has stayed up the front. The 26, no matter the situation, I've noticed here, Marty, has just kept it up front so far. The Wolfpack Racing Machine doing a solid job tonight.
Yeah, a couple of other drivers have done that the same situation. Davis, for example, started on pole, currently 3rd. Tigner started 2nd, currently running 4th. Rummett started 6th. He's racing for the 4th position at the moment. Give all those drivers credit for keeping their car near the front, staying away from trouble as of right now. as we're about nearly finished with this first half of the race. Right now, having some really good cars at the moment, but can they find their way up to the front and maybe hold it up near the front? Sobilo, one we should mention as well, started from 5th. He's leading this race.
Yes, he absolutely is. By the way, quickly touch upon Ritter again. One of the oldest drivers on the sim service, has to be upwards of nearly 20 years. Some of the drivers have raced with him going back as far as the early days of iRacing. One of the first drivers was a part of those that on the platform with experience. Good to see him out here tonight on track. As you see, some of they are big movers and shakers. Drago and Tucker, the third, are now up 17 apiece for their own right so far. And those drivers so far have been able to charge their way on through the pack at least. Tucker, the third, playing the bottom line, outside lane for Drago, who is an interesting character, I'll just say that from the official side. He's doing well tonight in the 037. So at this point now, though, Marty, the plotting and planning is in full swing. You'd have to think when it comes to this pack, a lot to consider in terms of the planning process here. What's kind of your radio discussion like?
Well, here's what I'm thinking right now. That the fact that we're on lap number 44, we're under 10 laps to the window. So now you're discussing with your teammates, I feel like at this point, when are we going to pit? Because like I mentioned earlier, you don't want to be pitting alone. You want to have someone with you. When you're going to pit, when you're going to jump down to the bottom to set up that pit stop, and make sure you guys come in and out together at the same time. When the key when it comes to pit strategy here that I have, don't want to speed, obviously. Don't want to pit alone. When do you pit? Do you try to maybe pit early, or do you pit late possibly? It's really a tough question here at this point here. Want to bring in Sky here on the pit strategy discussion. What are some drivers talking about? Are any drivers talking about the pit strategy at the moment? Because I'm looking at the top 9. They all pit on lap 22. They're due up in under 10 laps, I'd have to say.
Yeah, I think once we get to about 5, maybe 10 laps from now, you'll really start to see those cars get down to the inside line, form those packs, and get down to pit road. I'd say right now, you're just trying to find some friends. If you're in the top group here, you've got a whole group of cars that'll probably come down on a similar lap to you. Just talk to the people around you and kind of coordinate that move down to the inside line and eventually down to the pits. If you're one of those cars maybe a little deeper in the field to get Jeffrey, you could have some trouble finding people to work with to get down there. It's gonna have to see how this plays out over the next 10 laps. I think all of these guys are maybe just hoping for a caution here.
Problem is, if there's a caution, there are going to be people collected, said caution. You don't want to end up being the driver who makes the mistake, let alone crashing into the mistake. So there's got to be that balance you'd have to think here, and why we've seen no forcing the 3-wide like we've seen earlier on in the race. There goes Joseph Tucker. He falls a lap down. In a lucky spot yet again. The entire field outside of him and Greg Maconi are still in this draft. This field hasn't really lost touch with the pack. You would expect some splintering here, Marty. We haven't seen anything over the course of this run. Everybody has stayed tucked up in line. Even with those little gaps, they've closed them up.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more patience here on this run, and drivers are willing to trust each other that they can utilize both grooves. Not seeing a lot of drivers try and switch lanes, go up the hill, down the hill, whatever it may be. They're staying tight behind and in front of all the drivers that they're working with at the moment, and it's paying off for right now. Larry Pace nearly able to clear Sobolo, meanwhile, into turn number 1. But like I mentioned, while the patience is there, this pack I think will start to get smaller and smaller when pit stops happen in just a little bit. Again, we saw different strategies under the lap 28 stop when we had that second caution in the race. Some drivers pitting, others did not. The top 7 did not pit. A lot of drivers, though, will be able to go extra laps.
Exactly. Starting to see a little bit of diciness towards the back of the group here, by the way. Kyobashi amongst those moved up. He's one of the drivers on the top-off strategy. So we are starting to see things getting a little bit more decisive here with the lane choices. A lot of those pushing, a little bit of moment there. Looked like there was almost a chance for the 13 to take it wide on the outside. Didn't take it.
I wasn't just looking at that, but a risky bump draft by Davis in turn number 2. Bump draft in the corners is very risky. It can easily lead to accidents. I've been on the short end of the stick before, no matter what car it's been. It is not pretty, to say the least, as they work on some more lap traffic. That's Greg Maconi in the 12.
Yep, and it looks like they'll squeeze on by this time. Now, they try and zip their way to the corner. Coming up to halfway, this upcoming time by. Coming up 50 laps to go. This race having a much greener tone compared to yesterday's recruitment race. We expect that with this being much longer, absolutely. But as we come up to cross flags this time by Sky, what are some of the trends you've noticed here as we're moments away from the pit stop?
Well, we're going to see those cars, like I said a little bit earlier, maybe make their way down to the inside of the racetrack in preparation for this pit stop coming up. I am right now looking at Larry Pace up here in the 00. Currently running in second. He's one of those cars that's going to need a pit stop here pretty soon, but he's moved up from 17 to 2 over the course of this race. Your second biggest mover so far, behind Harold Tucker, who's gone from 32 to 14. So Larry Pace really picked up the pace as he's led that outside line to get his way up to the field.
Now look at how tight they're squeezing again on the side draft attempt. They are flaring a little bit up, interestingly enough, for the corners at least, to avoid any potential contact there. But that inside has the momentum yet again as we come to 49 laps to go. Keep in mind here amongst some of the drivers that are also in this pack that have kept it quiet here. Team communication, as we mentioned, going to be key here, but a lot of these drivers coordinated up towards the middle pack, in particular with Wanted Goons that race a fair bit of league races. A lot of these drivers here, Marty, staying lined up with their respective groups, as we've seen yet again. Organizational charts here as they make the move on the backstretch again.
Yeah, working really well for a lot of drivers here, without question. It kind of as well sets up, you know, who would I want to work with as well late in the race. If I'm there with them, do I go with them, or do I think about myself at the same time going for the race win? It's that tough coin toss type situation, unless obviously you have a teammate, then without question, you're going to go with him and try and work with him to take the win. So the window is open for the drivers that have gone now 30 laps or so on this run. I haven't heard any chitter-chatter on the public iRacing radio, not the private Discord radios as well, but I would have to assume that drivers are getting ready, that stayed out under that last yellow, are getting ready to come in and set their black boxes to fuel only.
I mean, the thought here, though, would have to be, because the length of pit stop at least takes some tires. I can see where the time difference would be, though, when it comes to that. It's a couple seconds difference, potentially, between the full tank and the tires. It really depends, though, how much gas you really need for that balance. Absolutely.
Well, a two-tire pit stop here on any car, you're taking about, like, maybe 10 seconds or so, 9 seconds, maybe 10 seconds possibly. If you want to fill it up, it could be worth it. It could be risky at the same time. So obviously you're thinking the shorter the pit stop, the better, but the big key, though, you want to make sure you're working with somebody on pit exit.
Come down this time. Will there be any indications? Looks like no. Here's the big thing, though. Your top 8 are all on the same cycle, as well as Joseph Tucker. Everybody else on the top off. So there is going to be that split differential here. amongst them when it comes to the strategy. The next couple moments, that is going to impact just how close things are. Communication so critical at the point of the run.
Here's the tough part, too, at the same time when it comes to this pit entry. You want to be on the bottom. The 00, the 13, and the 54. And it sounds like we're hearing on the radio drivers are getting ready to pit. Going back to what I was going to say, those first 3 drivers on the outside, they're stuck on the outside line, which means they may be forced to go an additional lap. Because you don't want to go 2 lanes down and then make that pit stop, or else you could be causing a huge wreck below the apron.
Doesn't look like anyone came down, though, this time. So everybody else keeps on chugging along. Under 45 laps to go. So the names for those curious are Sobolo, Peace, Davis, Tigner, Brummett, Cheney, Rickett, Hoytsma, or rather should I say Rickett, that we're keeping an eye on in the next moments here. Dave Hoytsma is the first on the cycle. Here's how close they are. Joseph Tucker, who's been on his own this entire time, who just misses box as well, by the way. He just pit now into the stalls on 32. Without any draft since he blinked out of the pack in the first place. Looks like they'll go one more again. Continue to think right now, Sobolo. You have to wonder what's going through his mind here. He's been leading a lot of laps this run, 36, Marty, and that burns up extra gas.
The same goes as well for Larry Pace, because you're full throttle basically this entire time, and it's messing up your economy. You have less miles per gallon compared to those in the dirty air who are forced to lift, helping them out with about maybe 1/10 of a gallon or 100th of a gallon or so, which means it can help them out pick up some extra laps.
But it's from lap cards over the radio. So no one has indicated yet of a peel down with 43 to go. And remember, the longer they go, the closer they punch into the number. 77 is coming. The 4 is coming. The 26 in session is coming. It's pit party time. This time by here in Saturday for the boys. Our first reflex stops.
And if you crunch the numbers here as well, this is going to leave drivers on a one-stop race, which means the most they could go would be with just over 10 laps to go, but expect that to be split when we get into this, when we get into the home stretch of this race. But here we go for pit stops off for turn 4. The pit entry is going to be very key. It's where accidents could happen at times and where you could speed.
To Sky we go. In pit road they speed into.
We got everybody coming down now. A lot of those cars who stayed out on that last one and are finally now coming in for service. Black flag for the 16 car back there, speeding on entry for Dan LaBelle. That'll probably wreck his race because he is not going to be able to come out with this group of cars that has come down. It's Jared Davis, Keegan Sabilla, Steve Ritter all into the pits here. We'll see who comes out first. Looking like 4 tires for all of these cars. Fuel and tires, and here we go, coming out of the pits now. Davis is going to be second off. Keegan Sabillo in the 77 will be the first off, but these cars are most importantly in a decently tight group here. It's going to allow them to come out the pit somewhat intact. Now everybody else is going to come down. You're going to get about 10 more in the second pack. Big slide out of the 00 and the 54. There goes the 55 of Aiden Howard back there. That could have been a lot worse than it was.
No black flags for that wave. Interesting call for a couple of those because they were only 31 laps in, Marty. I think they burned a lot more fuel than they were maybe projecting because of how fast the pack was going.
Could be at the same time, but they could be setting things up long-term, possibly. Now we're seeing drivers switch to the bottom. Hoytsma, Casey, and Lucas hearing more drivers signal that they're going to pit this time by the third wave here of pit stops. Are we going to see some wild lockups like we did moments ago? I don't think that's going to be the case with Tigner, Briggs, and Eddie. Oh, there goes Tigner right in front of Jeremy Briggs.
They crash on pit entry, and chaos reigns, and it's so easy to do that if you miss your mark, Sky.
We've had a couple cars here go sliding and skidding all over the pit lane. This is just the latest example of that. Cuts across the track, hits another one. You've got more spinning out on the inside. I mean, that was... 3 cars came into the pits there, and all of them managed to get loose.
My goodness, is all you can say with half the field still yet to pit. Right now, you have Krobach up in the front of the field. He just worked with Brighto.
Oh no, look at the 07. Brummett's going to pit alone here, Sky. Not what he wants one bit.
Nope. No, he is going to be caught way out now. He is going to have no draft, no help, and he is going to be, to put it lightly, in trouble if he doesn't get a caution very soon. And he goes sliding into the pits too. Man, 4 tires may be necessary here because these drivers have been struggling.
I mean, if they have to come down pit road again here, Marty, it's not going to be easy for pit road. In fact, 2 tires, let alone no tires, on pit exit is a nightmare on that very marble-filled apron, you'd have to think.
Yeah, it's like a skating rink, basically, when you make your way onto pit road, and no grip as well at the same time, too, because obviously everyone's been on the racetrack, so still waiting for the top 15. So, yes, top 15 exactly to make their pit stop, and they're all hugging the double yellow line. This will be interesting to see who's going to come out in front. As of right now, it should be Keegan Sopolo, but he's got a push from Jared Davis. However, if all these drivers here come in all together, it could put the 72 and the 59 out in front because they pitted the latest, and they've got a better draft compared to the draft that the last cars on the lead lap do.
I heard one call from Kabashi previously. See if he comes down. We do see a stop.
No.
Back for him. He's on his own again. And another one has a bit of issues with some slide. But the next wave has called over the radio that they're going to come in this upcoming time by Krobach. Why is he going up high? Well, he's trying to get around some of the lap traffic who is staying low.
And this is going to separate the drivers from second and third, Smetana and Baytall. I don't think they're going to be too pleased with the way Dwayne Corbett's doing this, hugging the yellow line. This is a situation where, you know, a lot of drivers are getting ready to pit. Get out of the way, especially get high up in turn number 4. I'm not too sure why he's doing this.
Counterpoint, Howard's up there on the high side, so it's devil's advocate. Choose whatever lane. Krobach coming in. Into Sky they go.
Ooh, some guys may have gotten caught speeding. Yep, there we go.
Yep. Couple black flags there as everybody who came down to top up makes their way. And now Trago completely whiffed his pit box too. He's going in reverse down pit road. He's going to try and pull it now. That's a couple cars really spinning it out there. I mean, we've seen at least 5 or 6 cars just completely lose it down the pit road. You see Trago just misses pit box there as well. Has to back all the way up. Worst case scenario for that line there because they have really become disorganized on their way into the pits with all the spins and the penalties and all of that. They're not going to be able to get in a line on exit. Here comes another group. Looks like 8 or 9 cars there, and we'll see if any of these drivers have the same issues. Maybe. A little bit of a save there for the 13 car.
It's a man having
Something else I do want to touch on when we were watching those pit stops. Strobach completely missed his box, overshot it by 1 entire stall. And Justin, this was something I brought up as well earlier. It's okay if you do that under the yellow flag because you just lose a couple of cars behind, just a little bit of track position. With this, you're basically just losing the entire lead draft. You're in a lot of trouble unless you get a caution flag.
It's now going to be an interesting one. Where are things going to cycle? As they race off the pit road. Smetana is the first one off in that final wave of stops. Here, 7-lap difference. Here is Chromebook. He's 48 in session, 72 on track. Krobach. Let's take a look. Oh, a big slide for the 88. Miss. Spun around there. And you can see just after that big issues to be able to lock it down, even to get on the concrete into the box. And from that point on, if you cannot get in the box without losing, with where you have to back up, Marty, it's a good way to lose the pack. And that's why your main pack is down to just 8. Steve Ritter is now the leader.
How about the veteran out in front of that number 26? The big winner, I would have to say, in all this in the pit stops. I don't know how he found his way out in front of Keegan Sobolo, but it worked. Looking at a lot of the pit times here underneath this last round, a lot of 14, 15-second pit stops. I think it was a full tank of fuel and maybe 4 tires. I don't know. I'd have to go look back at some of these individual stops. But Steve Ritter, the man with the big advantage, and now the high side. See if it starts to cook here once again with Sawich. And Sobolo wants to go there too. Ooh, they got
look
ugly.
at that. That was a big block. Sobolo to the point. Sobolo Racing Esports Machine now leads as Sawich trying to have some moments too.
Yeah, you got a lap car up here, Joseph Tucker as well at the same time. This is the guy that's not even fighting for a free pass spot. There are 3 drivers ahead of him that are currently a lap down at the moment. It's very risky to do this at the moment. Let the leaders race. I get you're trying to get one lap ahead. That could help you out on a yellow flag, but it's a very dangerous game you're playing. You're basically playing with fire.
Lots of communication.
And there's the yellow.
Yep, that's a good reason for communication because it's Argenio in the wall. Argenio, the 3 machine, was in the draft in 19th and was sent flipping.
Yeah, these trucks, it's very easy for them to get light on iRacing, lighter than they've been in maybe the past 2 years or so. And with the way that car just skidded onto its side, physics were just not its best friend as it barrel rolled there into turn number 3. Luckily, wheels down to the point where the car as well was drivable back to the pits. And from what we're hearing as well, we'd like to get a better view close up. Argenio may have gotten net coated in this steal.
Yeah. Yep. That's
He's right inside.
And basically, when you get to that point, you're basically breaking the physics, so to speak. Around it blows.
2 complete flips. Again, luckily wheels down where he doesn't need to tow it back to pit road, which can cost him an extra lap or 2. I don't even think it messed up the engine or something. Just needs to repair the damage on the chassis and change up the tires and should be good. Now this is going to make things very interesting pit-wise. If you come in, you could possibly make it to the finish provided we don't get an overtime. And this is the case. Everybody except for some are going to stay out.
Yep, it is now that sequence where could be in the window to make it from here. It looks like vast majority of the field is taking at least the chance to top off here. All, as expected, everybody who was a part of those in the first pit wave. Only 5 are rolling the dice and hoping that we get more cautious to save the fuel here. As the race is won by Sobolo, it's Laster, Smetana, Hoitzma, Petschal, and Williams who are out on track still. So the pizza man is up front.
Now, it would not surprise me, though, if they decide to pit for fuel and even if another guy makes an extra stop for fuel just so they can simply top off and have a full tank so that way they can go to the finish. I believe that everyone here, you'd have to crunch the numbers depending on what position you would be in. Everyone should be go on fuel. If we get a couple overtimes or so, it could get risky.
Sky, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I was just kind of going to agree with that. If you pit right there, barring an overtime, you're good to the end. You might, depending on the timing of it, be able to make it through 1. If you save, maybe 2 overtimes. If we go to a 3rd, I think everybody will need the pit. Those cars who stayed out, everybody who is last took fuel 4 laps ago. Laster through Willius. Those cars are good if they save. If they don't push too hard, maybe drop out of the clean air at the front of the field, they could save enough fuel to be good. If we get another caution, they could also save enough fuel to be good. If this goes 31 green to the end, I expect to see those cars maybe a little light on the throttle to get more fuel into it.
See where the choices come in. It looks like Drago will be amongst those who top off, taking the risk on track position. Make sure they are good. It looks like they are the only drivers up the front. In fact, the entire field outside of LaBelt who are coming in through service. LaBelt actually coming out of pit road now. But here's your restart grid amongst your top runners. It's Laster, Smetana, Hoitzma, Petschall, along with Williams, Sobolo, along with Sutek. You also have Davis and Rickett, along with Pace in your top 10 here. So the nerves have to be high with a 29 lap run to the very end here. Some drivers that haven't had a chance in some cases to be up front. They've been riding and biding their time. Now it's their true test. Can they survive up front, Marty?
We'll just have to see. And I'm riding on board with actually a pair of the drivers here, Smetana and Hoitzma. Even a guy like Sobilo. They are all pushed. A lot of them are pushing the clutch and making sure they have some extra fuel just in case to go the distance. All in that 4th gear as well, so they're using less fuel compared to being in 1st gear or 2nd gear. So, yeah, smart move to use the clutch at the time, try and pick up some extra mileage on this run before we go back to green. You're right on board here with the pizza man himself, Brayton Laster. Just conserving here before we go back to green. You're looking at the RPMs here at times.
Yep, you see that little difference, Patana on the banking. Brayden Laster says, I am good on fuel. So it looks like he is going to be comfortable here. He's one of the drivers. And of course, has a lot of things coming up. Going to be attempting the Chili Bowl, actually, with Zach Bowden Racing this season.
There's nothing like it. There is nothing like it.
Base car is off. 29 to go. The pizza man looks to deliver. He's up front. Smetana goes down to the bottom. Birdshaw now works his way as the first driver up the high side. A lot of drivers actually trying to peel to the bottom immediately.
Yeah, well, low side obviously shorter way around the racetrack can definitely help you out with distance on the field side, and obviously not a lot of drivers are going to be hugging that. I have a good feeling based off the way this race has played out. You see a lot of 2x2 action, and look at the push by Paychall to the race lead. You can thank Sobolo for that, but the 77, who in my opinion has been the best driver of this race so far, trying to put his Silverado out to the point.
And now look at this. A little bit of a block on down. 77 all over the place. Sobolo trying to hug the different lines here. Larry Pace yet again. Leading the outside though. His momentum to carry in the midst of all this. So work the way on through. We'll see where the advantages come out this run, but you can tell Brummett is working pretty hard to build up this run with Pace here to get him alongside, see where the speed fares out. You can see just how far the run only gets to the edge of the front bumper, maybe. Just not enough to clear Marty.
Yeah, oh, so close. Larry Pace has been, in my opinion, the best driver so far to utilize. Oh boy. You saw their mid-pack, a big cut up by Casey Sawich. Up in 13th. I thought for he was going to take out a boatload of the field. The way how yawed that car was sideways going through the tri-oval, but getting back to my point, Larry Pace best on the high side, and now looking for some help from Dean Brummett. This high side, going to get a little bit more antsy, I feel like, now that everyone has enough field to get to the finish.
That urgency level is going to pick up. We're seeing 3 wide. Celtic now trying to go forward.
That was Sawich up on the wall, that 27. He's going to lose a boatload of spots. May drop down the leaderboard like an anchor possibly going down to C. There is one hole he get in front of the 3 truck of Argenio. Hey, that was the man, by the way, that flipped under the last caution. He's up there in the 17th spot. Give him credit for that. I would have to assume he used his quick repair.
Yeah, has to have, obviously, here. Not too many quick repairs being used tonight, you would expect, though. Not as many incidents compared to the recruitment race, and as we've seen tonight, drivers have been able to mostly keep it clean. Argenio, see him with that push, now linked up there. Argenio getting squeezed. Sutwich getting up in the wall, trying to avoid Tigner's fender. That was a little bit dicey, to say the very least.
Yeah, risky with both Tyler Cheney and the 72 of Krobach. Meanwhile, up near the front, Pace took the lead from Sobolo and cut down in front, but then Sobolo had a gap open on the outside where he just simply crisscrossed him. And the 77 is back up to the front. Now that leaves Brummer, the first driver, up on the outside. Help from Smetana in that 53 possibly. But let's watch the back of the field still closely, because Cheney's trying to get a run 3 wide with Sawich to the outside, and it is working, Justin.
It's working out very well for the moment, but it's going to require some give and take for those in the middle, and some of those drivers are flaring out and pushing up on the high side. Howard, see, he's trying to give space. It's tight, though. Howard was one of the contenders last night. Ended up getting bounced around. Still finished top 3 in that race. As there's that squeeze we were talking about. The middle line going up and running 2 lines at once.
Yeah, Jared Davis caught the apron, which had an open gap between the 77 and the 4. Smetana cuts down low to get 4th. Sobolo, though, back on the outside. His sweet spot for the race lead. Helped coming as well for the 26 of Ritter. And they worked together really well before that last caution.
Yeah, now that 3rd line has just dissipated as a result of those squeezes there. Still plenty of time for it to rebuild, but it's getting dicey. Dean Brummett, he dices his way to the front for the first time in a while. So we're willing to work with him, but no chance to move to the bottom yet. That inside line just that much quicker in the corners as per the iRacing standard here. See if they take it down the backstretch, though. Answer is the inside line pushing well. It's Matana having a triple truck tandem to keep that inside moving still.
Getting dicey up near the front once again. 26 nearly forced it 3 wide, but look at Krobach go. Cracking the top 10, 3 wide with help from Tyler Cheney. Oh, look out, there was contact. Oh boy, that Silverado hanging on to it. I think that's Futro in the 36.
And it is,
oh,
and he's
no!
turning. He turns Cheney. Caution flag is as the outside line implodes. Now they spin all around as Cheney slams multiple walls. We're under caution yet again. Coming to 21 to go. Could see that coming.
There are some other cars caught up and in the back. Briggs and Eddie, a part of it.
Yay. It's all you can say for some. Let's try this again on the replay. Look. Could see it coming with some of the tight racing with the ping pong we started to see.
Yeah, rough break there for that 54 of Cheney without question. Leading that 3 wide group. Here's another angle. The second driver in that 3 wide group. And yeah, remember, Futro was really slipping and sliding on that middle line after a close call coming off turn 4 and was just hanging on for it for dear life. And the ticket time bomb got off, and this is what I was talking about with Jeremy Briggs and Eddie also involved. Watch the 48, and I don't blame him for being mad one bit. I will stand for our Maconi colleague. I don't blame him one bit.
Yeah, that is another stack up where the brakes have to come into play there. All you can say is, ready to go. Hope you have your fast repair saved up, to say the very least here as we see one more time. And well, at this point here with this stack up, I believe Sky is standing by with some information here. Sky, your analysis as we are under caution again.
One thing I wanted to note while they were still going green is that those cars who didn't come down the pits at the last opportunity, who had about 4 laps less fuel than everybody else, were all running pretty much single file on the inside line. There were about half the cars on the inside line, and they were all just biding time, sitting about 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, through about like 10th in line, staying off the throttle and kind of using that spot further back in the pack to save fuel. But when that wreck happened, I mean, we saw it on the replay. All those cars wrecked right up to the wall. So the middle line, the high line got cleaned out. All those cars who were just down kind of saving gas on the bottom line made it through the accident, no damage whatsoever. And this caution is probably going to make them good on fuel here unless we get an overtime finish. So for those cars, I don't think this could have worked out any better.
Absolutely. Now, it's going to be the curious part on who survives the end with all these drivers picking up damage. Still seeing the replays in terms of this incident. Some of the drivers that are down there still with heavy damage, including Lucas. You also have some of the drivers that have picked up fast repairs like Howard and many others. Cheney still down there getting repairs done. Kabashian, Carter Casey's down there still. Plenty of drivers that have had significant speed on their margins here tonight. But it's Larry Pace and Dean Brummett going to be on the front row for the restart here, Marty. Big thing for them. Right now, Pace, 8 laps led, Brummett with 8 as well.
Yeah, they'll have that clean air for this restart, but now I just have that feeling that, you know, that was just a sneak peek. That was just an appetizer with all that 3-wide racing of what we saw. The entree is cooking right now and is about to be served, I feel like, in just a little bit. A couple of drivers pitting like Sky was bringing up earlier on the race analysis. Just topping off for fuel. Having extra fuel and repairing damage just in case we have maybe, you know, up to 3 overtimes. But this is helping the drivers that pitted on lap 65 as well. Smetana, Ritter, Laster, Paychal, just to name a few of them. Still have to push in the clutch to be safe than sorry. And it's just buying them some extra laps that they can go the distance.
So we're coming up to the 1-to-go signal this time. Once was up front again. Picks, Brummett, Smetana, Solo, Krolbach on with Davis, Ritter, Paychal, Laster, Dave Litzma are on the top of the pylon inside the top 10. Looks like at the very least, some of the drivers like Cheney were able to get out with some repairs, but lose a lap here. Repair sequences, Carter Casey is currently in the lucky dog spot, 1 lap down. So I'll ask you this here. Didn't get the chance to ask at the start of the broadcast, but we've seen how the tone's been set, Marty. Who gets the job done with 18 laps on the board?
You know, I tell you what, I am really liking the 77 of Sobolo. He's looked very good. However, though, and keyword however, there are likely some drivers that we're going to be talking about in these final 5-10 laps that we haven't talked about all race long because they've been hanging out in the back. A couple of drivers I'm going to keep my eye on. You know, Willius is one of them who came from the B main. We haven't even talked about the Maconis one bit, specifically Jeff, who has won this twice, including last year. He's restarting 21st. This race is far from over. We've got 18 to go when we come back to green.
Going to be a wild one, to say the very least. Looking to speak with Jeff. We haven't spoken with him yet on the event, but also he's going to have a lot to say about the event and the proceeds raised so far by this year's running of this race. here for Saturday for the boys. It's been a Saturday to remember for some absolutely tonight. Coming up to 18 laps to go at the stripe. Pace looking to hold up in front. Keep an eye on Sobolo though. 4th place on the restart. 40 laps led. He's been really good and finding the right lane. Green flag is out. A bit of bobbling from Dean Brummett. The outside actually has a poor start as a result. Smetana trying to go side by side.
Eye closely though, with how close together that high side is, they may get the advantage. Off of turn 2, watch the push Brummett's going to get from the 77 to Sobolo. They'll have the advantage down the super stretch and look to be maybe lined up better than anyone else. Brummett for the race lead out front.
Now look at that. Can Brummett find a way to get down to the bottom of the block off pace? He doesn't take it. A little bit close yet again.
Well, he nearly got turned out as well off the bumper of the 77. Nearly did once again. Sobolo bump drafting, so he can try and find his way back to the front. But remember, you have to line up those bump drafts perfectly. If it's offline, it could trigger a massive wreck, especially with it being at the front of the field.
Yep, absolutely. Sobolo staying close to the bumper despite that, though. Gonna have to be careful on the engine temps here. Coming to 16 to go at the stripe.
Yeah, a lot of racing remains. You can cook an engine if you keep bump drafting like that in about maybe 4 or 5 laps or so on iRacing. You got to take her very nice and easy. Once you get to those final laps of the race, then you're pushing for your life.
Now some 3 wide building up in the back part of the main group. Rickett up there, also joined by Corbett. Corbett trying to stay on the bumper of the 7. Everybody else staying 2 by 2 for now. That outside isn't going much. A little bit of ping-ponging there with Rickett as well as Briggs. And their respective lines is a little bit tight back there as some drivers go to the bottom.
Yeah, that was Sawich in the number 27. He's done that a couple of times tonight, and I don't blame him for doing that because look at the accordioning on the bottom. It could trigger a massive wreck if that happens with bigger impacts. Now let's watch the high side closely. Billy Rickett, don't think we've talked about him too much in the race. He's been probably as high as 3rd or 4th. Corbett working with them in the same for that 55. Aiden Howard, not a lot of room though on that outside. 15 laps remain here in the For the Boys charity race.
Not too much time to work with to make these moves. Sobolo, as we said, would find a way to make some moves. His outside line is dying off though. Top line itself has made its way up to the outside of the 3rd or 4th spots off that middle line's comparison. Fair amount of gain picked up by Rickett. Sobolo trying to find a way to get a side draft. The thing is, Krobach is not willing to push him too hard yet. Not willing to give him a shove to be able to get that line going.
It can be smart because I think the 72 was probably wondering, do I stay in the middle or do I decide to take the risk up top? Because the high side was working well for the Team Connie Racing driver earlier on today before that first caution flag flew. 77 has been the best on the outside line, in my opinion, without question. Even with Larry Pace. Pace and Sobolo, they've been the best 2 all race long, in my opinion. Goes up top, and now, hold on there, Brummett! Got slab drafted from Smetana, stacks up the field, we're banging doors.
Still
and
banging
now we're
doors.
wrecking.
There they go, a wreck down to the bottom for the 42. Up the track goes Ritter. Under caution is Brennan. Laster slams the wall. Several others continue to scramble on in. Kilbashian with damage. And several more go to the infield. Chaos reigns yet again, coming to 13 to go.
This all started up front with how Brummett got bump draft and the low side just simply accordion. There was a lot of door slamming, and you can see just everyone was freaking out, just trying to see, okay, where is this wreck going to start? And, well, it started in the back. It was a ticking time bomb waiting to go off.
It definitely went off for a lot of those drivers that ended up picking up damage there. Ritter on some of the heaviest contact. Continue to take some looks here at this one. Sky, you had a feeling this would end up happening potentially with the aggression levels just picking up so late.
Yeah, especially in a race at Daytona. I mean, you always seem to get some late chaos here that leads to maybe a short run to the end, a quick 10-lap run to the finish, or even an overtime finish, depending on if we get some more. Everybody should be good on fuel to the end now with this caution. The question is going to be, if we do get those overtimes, are they good for one? Are they good for two? Can they make it all three now because of all the cautions we've had? That's really going to be the question that a lot of these drivers are asking, and that's what we're going to see play out over these last few laps.
How things go for a lot of these drivers. Why do we take the opportunity the first time tonight with how things have gone tonight? We've had a lot to talk about. We'll take a chance to reset here, take a look side by side. Coming up to 12 to go. We're under caution here at Maconi Entertainment.
Here's to the straggly ones. The first ones. Hey, I look good with this ones. The black, brown, red, and gray ones. The itchy ones. The ones grown by Dad. The ones grown for Dad. The I nearly didn't do it this year ones. And the absolutely filthy ones. They all raise awareness, raise funds, start conversations, and save lives. Because whatever you grow will save a bro. Sign up now at Movember.
Our NASCAR fan base fits that Movember audience perfectly. I like the idea of using this platform, the NASCAR industry, my audience, our team's audience, spread awareness about what Movember really stands for.
We had about 50 names donate, raised almost $2,500. Some people missed the deadline, so we wanted to make it fair to them and add them to the car.
Everybody has something that they're going through. Our sport, just like the NFL, NBA, you got a lot of highs, a lot of lows. Sometimes you got more lows than you have highs. So, you can definitely bring that negative energy home with you. My takeaway is just moving past the situation, the negative situation that happened, looking at the positive, raising awareness for Movember on November 1st. Perfect opportunity, perfect fit.
Welcome back to Maconi Entertainment as we get ready for a restart pretty soon. Next time by will be the one to go signal. That should bring us to a 10-lap dash to decide this one. Joseph Prince, Marty Sakawa, Sky Shrek, Howie Burrows, our producer this evening. Larry Pace looking to add his name to the history books here. He leads the Saturday for the Boys race for 2025, but he has Dean Brummett and Keegan Sobolo who are right up in front as well. That had been quick all throughout the late stages, especially all race for the 77. Marty, the trends though could get interesting coming at 10 to go when we get the green.
Yeah, absolutely. The final 3-4 laps of truck races at Daytona, they can be total insanity. And then when we have the white flag in this race, it's the second place car that controls the race because the leader cannot defend both lanes. Second controls when the run happens. Third or fourth normally ends up making the push. You'll see the guys that have been mid-pack suddenly start to appear in the top 5 of this race. Guys we haven't talked about a lot tonight, like Aiden Howard, for example, Dwayne Corbett, Justin Tucker as well. The bottom line almost never wins late. The top lane is typically king in the final laps. And finally, the finishes, you'll see a variety of leaders wrecking, cars spinning across the line, winner making the last lap pass most likely.
Wow. Field gets running. Sky, what do you say about the potential possibilities here?
I would not be surprised if we saw another caution or two coming down towards the end of this thing, especially just with the way the racing has been, particularly over the last 50 or so laps. I mean, we've seen a lot of action, cars pushing it 3 wide. That last wreck almost happened about 3 or 4 times before it did, so I would not be totally surprised if we saw another.
Now, let's find out how this field is ready to battle it out, to say the least. $150 again going to the winner alone. The top 10 is in the prize pool, a part of this year's event. So they'll make their way towards the start zone this time through. Pace, Brummett, Sovolo, Smetana, Rickett, Davis, Krolbach, Corbett, along with Howard and Tucker. Or once your top 10 coming up to the restart zone. 10 laps to go, and Saturday for the boys hits Pace on the gas. We're backing away. Pace already clearing on by, but he's going to have to find some help pretty quickly. The outside is a bit more gathered up.
The high side, keep an eye once again. No gaps in the corners can be risky at times, but Brummett's got the push he needs. The 07 back out to the point. And man, that is not what the 77 wanted, and Brummett could not block the move by Smetana. The 53 looking for the race lead, and a big run on the outside once again from one other truck. It was the 9.
To the point. Now has Pace on the bumper. Oh, look at that cut. Pace now blocks off the outside. Back and forth they go. Offset long for Pace. Pace gets bounced around as they bounce around. Still 3 wide in the back of the field as Pace tries to find a way to get the outside to work with Brummett.
Got a little love tap as well from the 07 going across the start-finish line. I don't know if it was an appreciative move or not, but we're in the witching hour of this race with 9 laps to go. Wins can become losses, losses can become wins, and look at the third groove set up by the 9. Does anyone go with Dwayne Corbett? We'll have to see.
That's the question on everybody's minds here. Smetana, one of the drivers from the Czech Republic. It's been around since 2020 with that organization. Can he get an edge for the international scene? 8 laps to go. Pace still battles out on the outside, all while a third line tries to get formed up. No one's willing to bite on Corbett's a chance.
Stack up on the high side, 27 of Swatch with a little contact off of Hoytsma. But Corbett basically the man that's going to fall outside the top 10 for right now. High side with the advantage. Watch Pace get a push from the 07 of Brummett.
Yeah, now will there be an edge here? Brummett trying to cool off the motor. 7 laps to go this time through. Smetana still has good pushes coming from Sobolo. Pace, he gets the edge for the stride.
Corbett with some slight contact off the 54 truck of Cheney, trying to get some help from the 29 of Carter Casey at the same time, but nothing budging on that third groove.
Nothing budging, but still plenty to work for. 6.5 laps to go. Going to require a lot of effort to get the job done here. Brummett has an offset push. At least 5 trucks trying to push Pace at least together. Does not work out well there. Sobolo now gets clear. Watch for the 77. There's the move. And there's the block, Smetana.
Smetana tried, but now he's got no momentum because of it. There was a gap between him and Rickett. And what do you see? Sobolo out to the lead with 6 laps of racing to go. And help from the 00 Larry Pace. They've been the 2 best drivers all night long.
Right now, Smetana working this time with the 7. Billy Rickett hasn't led a lap the entire night. Now, the expired motorsports machine has an opportunity to join the spotlight. Coming up to 5 laps to go. Pace
third groove. Oh, look out. 17 in the wall. They're wrecking. Big crash.
Caution flag is out. And there is the wreck on screen. At least 10 drivers involved. It's a parking lot. And this will lead to a couple lap dash.
I don't know if it's going to lead to overtime or not. This should put us with 3, if not 2 laps to go. And you see it start with some contact from the truck in the 27. And it's just a, man, it was just a Waffle House basically in turn 3.
Got a feeling that can happen with 3 wide, and that takes out a lot of fast trucks that were not able to get going. Give credit to Corbett. He was trying to get the outside work, and it just, well, it didn't involve him, but it just involved him getting stacked up instead and flipped on sideways. You'd have to think there, yes, Dorney amongst those who picked up a meatball tonight. There's working upon the path.
Wow. That took out a lot of good trucks. Some drivers that I think may have had the potential as well to possibly go up on the third groove and have a chance to win this one. So I don't believe, as we watch another angle of this, look at Corbett up in the air, keeps that one going. I have a very good feeling that this should give us 2 laps of racing to go, not putting us into overtime though. So we could have maybe 4 green-white checkers tonight.
We'll see if we get to overtime. I think we might get to just before to a natural green-white checkered, based on the lap count. We'll have to keep an eye on this guy. Some of the drivers already discussing about the damage, and this is the situation where you have to run what's left.
Yeah, especially if you don't have that faster pair, you're really just going to have to run what you have to the end and hope either this pit stop can get you enough damage taken off of it to where you're good to go to the end, or you can just run it like it is and at least stay in the draft.
Yep, looking like some of the drivers are missing their pit stalls for good measure. Bit of a moment there for the 17 of Dorney. He's the only one who actually got mandatory repairs. Everybody else technically optional, but definitely not optimal body conditions left for them. But Smetana made some bold moves, Marti, before the caution flag. Sobolo, though, had some big speed built up. Going to be a wild one for the blocks.
Absolutely. I don't know how Smetana hung on to the lead, was scored as the leader at the moment of caution. But he's out in front. He'll control the restart, basically. But here's the issue, though. You've got Smetana restarting second on the outside. Larry Pace restarting fourth on the outside. Dean Bremmett restarting sixth on the outside. They have been, in my opinion, they've been the 3 best drivers on the outside line all race long. I have a feeling it's going to come down to one of those 3.
I think so, too. It just feels like the way things are shaping up, they've been the most consistent. But it's anybody's guess on how things can end at Daytona, at Talladega, ending at the super speedways. Reminder one more time that donations are encouraged when it comes to this year's event. $1,300 so far raised coming into the green flag for Movember. For more information or specifically to donate, go to Movember.com/M/Maconi to support Men's Health today. Again, this event in support of men's health held each year during November, the month of Movember, to bring awareness and be able to help raise funds for programs involving men's health. So the field does get itself situated for what's going to be a natural green-white checkered. If we get to the white flag, quite simple. It's a race to the finish. If we get a caution from the white, we'll get into our first of 3 green-white checkered attempts available. And now it's the matter of, can these drivers keep it clean to the white? And then from there, it's game on.
It's going to be very tight, Justin, without question. The pushing is going to be at its highest. There's going to be basically no gaps. All the engines are going to be all good to go. It's going to get insane.
You have to think that. We've seen some wild moves already as it is. $150 on the line and a chance to add your name to history, as well as that 1 meter tall trophy. A lot can come into play. You really want the trophy, too, when it comes to this. Jeff really goes on out with the trophies.
Oh, yeah, the trophies are beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them for Fast Fridays where, at least in the time when I called it previously, there was the option of trophy or the money. Some people took the trophy. Some people took the cash. Some people eventually got the options for both. But tonight, it's the option to get both, absolutely, if you get the win. Let's find out, though, who gets the win for Saturday for the boys. It's Matana, it's Sobolo on the front row. Pace car is off. This race comes down to 5 miles at Daytona. Green flag is out, 2 laps to go.
Outside line's got the advantage. A bad restart for Aiden Howard affects the entirety of that low line and splits the pack sort of into 2. And look at the push that Sobolo gets.
Sobolo now trying to find a way to clear. Foley can't get around Smetana. Smetana still has push.
We got caution. 13 truck around off of 2. That's Benny Tigner. 79 as well of, actually that's Harold Tucker the third, and so we will go to overtime.
Going to our first official overtime attempt here. See, the leaders were fighting. Sobolo got the lead, but it's going to be the 12 on track, 13 in sim. It's part of the caution trigger. They're towards the back of the pack completely. And they're pushing at the corner.
Yeah, that's the... Oh, no, it starts in front with Briggs as he got into the 79. Tigner just had nowhere to go.
Yeah. That is Harold Tucker III that went around there, I believe. Yes. That was off Briggs.
And it just makes you wonder if, are we going to keep seeing these spins at times with 2 laps to go? The cautions, breeding cautions obviously late in the go, and that's just classic super speedway racing, drafting track racing. But is it going to get a little bit worse is what we're wondering here.
Up and now, field stacking up here. Right side, we haven't gotten to position to quickie caution flags. Curious if we get to that now. That was originally going to be a call if we got back-to-back cautions, which I believe we would technically count as having. We'll find out. This is going to go as a few drivers are talking on the radio about their fuel mileage. Apparently, Howard trying to influence people on the radio to peel down for service. See if anybody tops off to make sure they're good on the gas. And it looks like Howard did not get anybody to bite.
I mean, I get why at times. Sometimes you're trying to get some people to take the bait, just to top off on fuel just in case. But the big risk you take is if there's a wreck, you could have nowhere to go basically, and you've lost all that track position because it seems likely the winner of this race is probably going to come from the first, I'd have to say, first 3 rows or so.
See the Lucky Dog situation. Haven't talked too much about the Lucky Dog with the chaos of Trego. That's going to get it here. Multiple laps down. Only he and Greg Maconi are the ones laps down left in this race. Rachel, Briggs, along with Tucker III and Maconi. Jeff Maconi are in pit road. So very unlikely here that Jeff is going to add to his legacy in this race. But it's extremely likely, in fact, will be possible, should I say will be happening, a different winner to this event. A new name to add to the history books here after seeing Maconi and Matty Clark be the dominant forces the past 2 years.
Yeah, it'll be a special moment for whoever wins the Movember charity race. Which is, again, continued to get bigger and bigger throughout the last 5-6 years or so. And whoever wins this race, they will definitely have earned it after a wild overtime when that starts up.
Now it's Sobolo, Smetana, Pace, Rickett, Rum at the top 5, Howard in 6th, Davis in 7th, Chromebook in 8th, Bone and Dave Hoytsma are your top 10. Coming up to the 1 to go signal. Can Keegan get himself the win after leading 43 laps tonight? Being inside the top 5 much the way. Remember, support Movember by donating at movember.com/m/Maconi, all in support of men's health. Donate tonight to add to the total. Again, more than $8,000 raised in the event's history through Maconi Setup Shop. So again, a reminder for those who have not seen the green white checker finish before, quite simply, it's a 2-lap dash. If you get to the white flag, it's a race to the checker. No cautions can freeze the field in iRacing. If we do not get to the white and have an incident, we'll re-rack and stack the field and try again. If we get to the 3rd attempt and we still can't get to the white flag, the race will then end under caution. So will we get that chance to go green? Usually we've only seen the 1 attempt in the recruitment race. Only 1 attempt was needed, Marty, in the first place before the chaos reigned on the final lap.
Well, I'll give you another trend as well that I haven't mentioned yet tonight, Justin. Where the typical final lap accident happens, it's typically down the super straight or turn number 2. There is a reason why whenever you listen to like the MRN broadcasts, there's a reason why Mike Bagley calls out the most crashes than anyone.
See how aggressive they get on some of these blocks here. Dean Brummett says, loves the field. Some positivity on the radio. But the key word is simple from race control. Be smart, everyone. Who's the smartest and who will get to victory lane? Those correlate. Green white checker number 1. Sobolo on the gas. Smetana loses ground on the outside as Sobolo brings pace with them along with Brummett. They're all working together fast. So is Davis. The top 4 nearly cleared.
Yeah, the front 3 now on the inside line for this restart. Taking it to their advantage along with Jared Davis. Something we don't see a lot. Maybe single file racing. Now look at Brummett on the outside. No way Pace can block it. Sobolo's not going to block it either. The race for the lead is on. A bunch of 7s, Vegas style for the lead.
Brummett trying to get the edge. Here comes Sobolo. Sobolo gets a small edge in front once again. Coming up to the white flag, this time by. Small bobble from Smetana. 1 lap to go in Saturday for the boys. Who gets it done on this Saturday night?
Now the risky part is for the front 2, they got to figure out what lane they're going to block. If they stay side by side, obviously they're going to stay there, but Sobolo's got the 07 cleared. He's a sitting duck for right now. They're 3 wide further back, and they're already crashing in the back of the field.
We stay green, obviously. Greg Maconi Mutzos in the grass. Sobolo doesn't move up to block.
Look at the push from the outside.
Brummett's got a good push. Smetana gets 1 more charge, pushing in the corner. Sobolo still gets the advantage up through 4. 1 more opportunity. He blocks to the apron. Pace tries to pass below the O-line. It's 4-5 wide at the line. It is Sobolo. It's by 3 1,000ths of a second. It's the 77 who gets it done.
How about this? The top 3 at the line, 7 thousandths of a second. Have you ever?
Haven't seen a lot of this, but my goodness, here's the slow motion look. Pace trying to make the move below the apron on the final lap, but that sparked absolute chaos. Look at this.
Good my. Wow. Now, it was risky. It was risky with pace. I don't know if Jeff's got a rule in for the double yellow line or not, but I'll give a credit to Larry Pace for trying at least, but wow, 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 what a finish.
Getting tight of this, so below. Just barely gets the edge. Led the most laps, nearly half the race. And gets it done. Look at that.
Brummett was crashing as he finished 4th.
We also had the wreck in the back of the field. Greg Maconi amongst those who went around at the back of the field. The Maconis didn't have the best of luck tonight, but it was coming out of turns 1 and 2. Can tell you things stacked up for several. Well, it's into 1 actually. They wrecked to 2.
Ooh. One car upside down, one truck upside down. Was that Argenio that flipped? If so, that's his second flip of the night.
That was. I think Argenio was definitely in that. Yeah, there's Lucas that causes it with the contact.
Oh my goodness. Not a total flip though, but man, he doesn't want to be in that twice in one night.
Wild. Just wild. Let's get the results on screen again. These results unofficial, but it's by 3 1,000. Sobolo getting the edge over Davis and Pace. Pace 7 1,000s back in the end. Brummett was sideways and wrecking at the line in 4th. Who finished in 5th. Hoitzma, Grobach, Smetana, Kelbashian, and Bone were in the top 10.
Aiden Howard 11th, Carter Casey 12th, Billy Rickett 13th, Dad LaBelle 14th, Brayton Laster finished 15th, Dwayne Corbett 16th, Travis Noble in 17th, David Paychall in 18th, Sean Futrell in 19th, and Trevor Trago rounded out the top 20.
Then in 21st spot went to Andrew Oyaz, Jeffrey Maconi 22nd, Carson Brento in 23rd, Dorney, Briggs, Tucker, back-to-back, Tucker and Tucker the third, 26th, 27th, Eddie, Lucas, Argenio, the top 30.
Rest of the drivers here, Greg Maconi in 21st, and then these drivers, mostly from the looks of it, DNF'd for this one. Vinny Tigner, 32nd, Tyler Cheney, 33rd, Steve Ritter, 34th, Kyle Vallejo in 35th, and Gary Flynn in 36th.
Let's look top to bottom at the running order unofficial tonight as we did go to overtime in Saturday for the boys this evening. Before we get to the interviews, your thoughts, Sky, on what we've seen break down a close finish.
Man, that was fun. Yeah. There was about 4 wide coming across the line there. I have not seen something like that, maybe ever on iRacing. So that was a ton of fun.
Definitely a ton of fun, but it was definitely a great ride. If you're Keegan Sobolo, he gets the job done. Keegan, you led the most laps tonight, but were you expecting that to be that close? A wild run to the end.
No, I can't even believe it. That was intense, that's for sure. It was intense the whole night long. You know, all of us up there were just dicing back and forth and fighting for the lead and side drafting each other and just trying to always be the first one leading the top or bottom lane. And what an event! What a great race, and just a great job by everybody that put this on, and a great job by the drivers too. We raced each other up front really, really respectfully, and it made it such a fun time, especially getting a green flag stop in. Just hands down, really good racing tonight.
So talk about the thought process in the closing stages there. What was kind of part of the game plan to make sure you got the edge, especially since in a couple of those late restarts, you were not amongst that front row, had to work to give a chance to lead a line?
Yeah, I mean, it was basically just hope and pray, you know, instinct and make the right move, and just kept saying a couple prayers, and you know, the Lord was able to help me out and get me up there, and yeah, it all worked out, and the seas kind of parted, and once we kind of got that opportunity, I knew coming to the white flag, I wasn't going to give up for nothing. You just can't give an edge in anything, or somebody's going to take advantage of it. So just kind of methodically took position on it, and once we got position, we just moved on forward and just tried to hold the bottom, and then I seen Larry going to the bottom. So then once we were 4 wide, it was just kind of hope and pray that we were going to be the first one across the start-finish line.
So that note, as definitely tell you the total just went up because, in fact, $109 just came from, I think, one of your biggest fans, Fish Fisher, just donated to Movember, a part of their support of this event in of Movember. What do you say about adding your name to the history books Saturday for the Boys and the legacy this charity race has built, already now upwards of nearly $9,000 raised in 5 years?
It's a huge honor. It's a huge honor to be able to win a special event like this with prestige drivers in here. But I think, everybody deserves a round of applause tonight. And that reason being is because of what we were able to do as a group. We're able to raise money for a great cause, a great charity, while we're doing what we love and while we're having a great time. And it's an honor to be able to be a part of that and to be a small piece of everybody that was able to support this event and benefit this charity in a positive way.
Anyone who want to give a shout out to here tonight?
Yeah, for sure. First and foremost, I got to give a shout out to my family. This has been a very, very hard week. On Wednesday, I ended up losing my Doberman at 6 years old on Wednesday, which was very hard. And then I lost my grandfather last night due to cancer. So it's been a hard week, and I just knew, hope and pray, and we were going to do it for them tonight, no matter what. And that's what we did. Thank you to all my supporters who make this possible. Jimmy, Crystal, Dwayne, Colin, Trevor, Phil at Mac Tools for supporting me and giving me this incredible opportunity, and for their support as well tonight for tuning in, as well as Fish as well. He was able to donate too, and thank you to him and Admin Box for all he's done. He's been a longtime friend, longtime supporter for years. So, and thank you to my esports team, Sabila Racing Esports, all my teammates who helped me prepare for this event. And just everybody who put this on and was able to support this amazing and incredible charity tonight, and everybody for tuning in and watching, and hopefully we're able to put a great show on for the fans like we intended to do so tonight. It was a great race, and I can't wait to come back for the next one. That was a lot of fun tonight.
Congratulations on the win here tonight, Keegan.
Thank you.
King Sobolo gets the job done tonight, as is named to the history books for Saturday for the Boys. Jared Davis did mention he had to get going, but we do have your third place finisher, Larry Pace, with Marty Sakala.
Larry, you looked so good on the outside tonight or any lane, but 7 thousandths off. Man, what more did you need there at the end?
Oh, geez. There's not much I could have done in that situation. I got boxed in third on that last restart, and I knew my only play, I can't go high, so my only play was to shoot apron and hope I could side draft and get up there and at least finish second, but didn't quite time it right. But at least it was a really cool looking finish. Felt like I had a parachute all night, and the spotter kept saying we can't fix your damage when I'd pit. I don't know if that was a glitch, but I know I was a little heavy on fuel that last run. So whenever I did get to the front, it was just like immediate parachute status. So that made it kind of difficult. But yeah, just waited a little too long on that last restart and got boxed in third. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those deals with speedway racing. It's just kind of luck sometimes and right choice at the right time.
How were you trying to set up a run at the end on the final lap?
Well, for me, once Dean went to the outside on the restart and I was in third, I basically just had to commit to pushing Keegan until the dash lights started blinking red. And then just, I was committed. I know the only chance I have is to pull apron down the front stretch. And, I wouldn't do that during the normal run, but it's not against the iRacing rules. You won't be black flagged. So I threw it down there, coming to line, see what happens.
A great job, though, tonight. Who do you want to give shout-outs to?
Jeff Maconi putting this on, inviting me. I don't usually run speedway stuff. I'm just not really a huge fan, but this was actually very fun tonight. So thank you, Jeff, for giving me the provisional, inviting me in. Everybody in the field for putting on a good show. Movember, everybody who donated tonight. You guys for putting on the show, and the drill aisle.
Well, great job tonight. Well done, and enjoy this one. A great finish tonight.
Thanks very much. You take care, guys.
You as well, Larry. Larry Pace, our third place finisher. Justin, back to you.
And with that being said, we have the multiple time race winner and your organizer of this year's running of Saturday for the Boys, Jeff Maconi, standing along by. Jeff, not the race you were expecting, probably a 22nd place run, but a wild ending to the race itself for 2025.
Yes, first and foremost, that was easily the craziest finish we've had. There was one, I don't remember if it was 2022 or 2024. It might have been 2021 even. It might have been the first one where it was me and someone else finishing side by side. So I finished second there. I won 2022. Yeah, so it was 2021. I won 2022. I won 2024. I don't remember where I finished 2023. And then this year I finished 22nd. I stayed at the back. I tried to stay out of trouble. Greg got caught up in a caution early. And he and I had been working together, my brother Greg. And then I was just trying to hang out. I got caught up, and then I had to use my fast repair and just didn't get a chance to move through the field like I wanted to, and probably waited too long to do it. It was a lot more people than I was expecting that actually finished the race. Usually we have like 15 people still running at the end that are in one piece. So the fact that we had realistically there were like 30 trucks that could have won the race or something like that, which is just incredible. So huge thank you to everyone that came out. It was such a fun race. I mean, I'm disappointed in 22nd. Obviously, I wish I could have run better and finished better, but anytime that I'm, one, running at the finish is a win, and two, get to run this race and have as many people show up as we did is really incredible. The worst part is that we have to send people home every year, but also the best part is there's so much engagement that we have a max field size every year, and we even expanded it this year, and we still had probably about a dozen people that couldn't make it in, if not more. We had 60 people. So yeah, we sent half the people home because there's just so many people that sign up, and over $1,300 raised for Movember last I saw. It could have gone up from then. So to everyone that donated, thank you. We've raised over $8,500 for them since 2021, and raised close to $1,500 this year, which is just incredible. It's really humbling and very cool to see. It's a really cool cause that Movember stands for, and everything that they do for people all around the world. So huge thank you to everyone that raced, that signed up, that donated, that watched, that was here and pulling for it. It was very, very cool. So thank you to everyone involved.
Absolutely. And of course, Movember, a huge cause to raise money for, as you mentioned, in the first place about this. Of course, a lot to talk about when it comes to things too. Your thoughts again for the future of this event to be able to keep raising money for such a cause.
Well, as the trends go, I win every other year. So I won 2022, I won 2024, so maybe 2026 will be better. So there will certainly be another one. We're going to run this one again. That's actually right after my wedding. I think it'll be about 3 weeks. We're getting married on the 7th. So that's, hopefully Bridget doesn't hurt me too badly, but she understands obviously how important this event is to me each year. So that's going to be a ton of fun. We'll be back for another year, and we'll cross $10,000 raised, I hope, and that's going to be really, really special. But it's just amazing, all the people that come in and make this possible and run this race and spend their Saturday night trying to make it, and the week before trying to get ready to run in this race, because it's a tough one. It's really hard surviving all the way to the end and then being there to win at the finish. I mean, you guys saw how wild of a finish that was. The top three were all within 0.03 seconds of each other, I think it was. So just incredible stuff. And I'm excited for the future. I'm grateful to everyone that was on my car. Movember, first and foremost. Maconi Setup Shop, Maconi Entertainment. You guys did a phenomenal job with this broadcast, as always. Chastity Tucker, Realtor. She's incredible and a huge supporter. Capriggio's Pizza's come on board. In the past month, I've known them, and they have been huge supporters of mine. Really thankful to them. Delk Drywall, he's been a huge help in the past month in introducing me to people, networking, and supporting me. He's going to be on the car for Daytona. BS Hat Co. We've got there's just so many people, so many people to thank, and I've gone on too long, but everyone that's on the card, that's been involved in this, that's donated and watched and raced. It's all thank you to them. And I'm very lucky that I get to be the figurehead for this and organizer for it, but it would not be possible without the dozens and dozens of people who contribute and help out and work with us and make this event what it is, and what I truly do believe to be one of the best sim racing events of the year. It's not the most well-known, but it certainly is the most meaningful to me, and I think one of the best races of the year each and every year, no matter how many times it kicks you down and you finish 22nd or worse. And there's always the times where you go and compete for a huge trophy and get to raise money for a great cause.
Thank you very much for your time, Jeff. And once again, great event here in 2025.
Thank you, guys, and I will see you for it next year. Have a good one.
It's Jeff Maconi. Taking time to speak was once again, I'd like to thank everyone taking the time to speak was during post-race coverage here on Maconi Entertainment. Your final thoughts, first of all, go to you, Sky. Your final thoughts on tonight.
I think it was a great night. I think we raised a lot of money for Movember for charity. Couldn't have gone much better, especially with that finish.
What about you, Marty?
It was, what a night, a great charity event, and it ended out with a bang. Phenomenal 100-lap feature we had, and it just gets us excited for next year.
With that being said, it's time to say goodbye. I'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's coverage here on Maconi Entertainment. Thanks once again to Maconi Cider Shop and all the other partners for taking part in this year's event. Calling the action was myself, Justin Prince, alongside Marty Sakala, Sky Shrek, alongside as well with Howie Burrows as a producer. Thanks to our viewers for watching tonight's racing action. Hope you stay tuned to our social media pages for our next race. Thanks to the entire staff for their work in bringing this racing to you. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment. We'll see you